Chapter 1097. Ha ha ha. Xiao Chen, aren't you being a little too confident? Tang Qianling did not take Xiao Chen seriously at all. He laughed arrogantly and said, "Do you really think that I'm like that good-for-nothing Jia Huiyan, who needs help from others for everything?" Before he could finish his sentence, Tang Qianling quickly circulated his mental cultivation and displayed the cultivation of a martial king at the peak of the martial king realm. Soon after, a black mist was released from his body and gradually condensed on his arms. "Hey, why is there so much black smoke coming from your body? Are you trying to perform a magic trick? Are you going to witness a miracle soon? Don't tell me that you couldn't hold it in after eating the sweet potatoes in the morning?" Xiao Chen covered his nose exaggeratedly and did not plan to attack. He stood there and stared coldly at Tang Qianling. Tang Qianling was unmoved. He harumphed and said, "You should feel lucky. Ever since I've learned the 5 Poisons Secret Manual, I've been worried that no one would be my practice target. Who would have thought that you'd come knocking on my door today? Congratulations, you're the first soul to die after I've mastered the divine art. Go to hell." As the last sentence left his mouth, Tang Qianling's body trembled, and he instantly absorbed all the black mist on his arms into his palms. His palms turned pitch black in an instant before he slammed them toward Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen stood there leisurely and watched Tang Qianling's palms with a faint smile. He had no intention of dodging at all. Tang Qianling's eyes lit up with joy. This kid is so arrogant. He remembered that Xiao Chen was only a level 1 martial highness. Not dodging or dodging with such a small difference in strength was no longer confidence. It was arrogance. And arrogance would only bring death. Bang! A muffled sound was heard. Tang Qianling felt that he had injected all the poison into Xiao Chen's body. He was overjoyed and immediately raised his head to see if Xiao Chen's face was turning blue and bleeding from all his orifices. Was he about to die from the poison? However, when he looked up, he saw that Xiao Chen was still smiling at him, as if nothing had happened. Tang Qianling was a little surprised. Could it be that the poisonous gas would only take effect after a while? However, Xiao Chen didn't seem to feel any discomfort at all. Xiao Chen finally reacted. He frowned and waved his hand to wipe off the black mist on his clothes. He looked at Tang Qianxi impatiently and said, "I say, don't tell me you have a special sexual orientation and are interested in men? Otherwise, why do you like to reach out and touch my chest? Look, you even dirted my clothes. This set of clothes is custom-made, personally made by a master tailor. It's very expensive. What? How could you be completely fine? That's impossible." Tang Qianling was finally stunned, and he couldn't help but blurt out. Could it be that there was a problem with the secret book of 5 poisons that he cultivated? That's not right. Tang Tang and Tian Yoshi had both tested it. In theory, there shouldn't be any mistakes. However, the most important problem at present was not to solve the secret book of 5 poisons, but that someone was staring at him covetously. Tang Qianling's mind was racing, but he still maintained a shocked and puzzled look on his face. He circulated his qi in his dantian and wanted to hit out another palm. At the same time, he shouted for help, so that Xiao Chen couldn't pay attention to both sides. Just as Tang Qian made up his mind and was about to carry out his plan, he felt a wave of energy rushing towards him. Alarmed, he hurriedly prepared to defend himself. However, before he could raise his hand, his neck was strangled. "What? You can't beat me, so you want to call for help? Have you forgotten what I told you just now? If you want to summon the guards, why don't you give it a try? Let's see if your voice is faster, or my hands are faster." Xiao Chen's face was as cold as frost. He used all his strength to lift Tang Qianling up. "Ahem. I didn't." Tang Qianling's face turned red, and he looked panicked. But he was still gathering black gas in his palm. He wanted to hit Xiao Chen again when he was unprepared. Bang! Before Tang Qianling could hit out with his palm, Xiao Chen swung his hand and directly threw him out. He smashed heavily into a bookshelf in the corner, and the whole bookshelf was smashed into pieces. Ouch! Tang Qianling felt that all his internal organs had been shaken out of place, and he let out a cry of pain. He lay on the ground for a long time, unable to recover his senses. "I say, you idiot, what kind of lousy martial arts are you practicing? Other than dirtying other people's clothes, it doesn't seem to have any power. Xiao Chen walked over with large strides, pulled Tang Qianling up once again, and ruthlessly punched him in the stomach. Ouch! Tang Qianling howled. And before he could react, Xiao Chen grabbed his head and knocked it with his knee. Tang Qianling's nose and mouth immediately spurted out blood, and his whole face was a bloody mess. His howl was also stuck in his throat, and he couldn't finish shouting. Are you learning from Bei? Why do you keep howling for no reason? Other people learn it for fun, but you learn it to attract the she-wolf. Xiao Chen said fiercely. He didn't know why, but he suddenly missed Jean Bei. He wondered how this little girl was doing recently. Woo! I really don't. Tang Qianling gasped in pain, and tried to explain. Who was Bei? He didn't know him at all, so how could he learn? However, Xiao Chen still didn't intend to stop. He continued to punch and kick Tang Qianling, and every punch hit the flesh. However, Xiao Chen deliberately didn't use his primordial qi, because he didn't want to kill Tang Qianling directly. He had other uses for Tang Qianling, and he was purely venting his anger. Don't hit me anymore. I won't call for help. Spare me. After beating him up for a while, Xiao Chen finally loosened his grip. Tang Qianling vomited a mouthful of blood and collapsed on the ground. He waved his hands repeatedly and begged for mercy in a hoarse voice. At this time, Tang Qianling's body was already black and blue. He supported himself with his hands on the ground and moved to the corner of the room with difficulty, trying to stay away from the devil Xiao Chen as far as he could. Tang Qianling was really a little depressed. He clearly remembered that he had used 10% of his strength and struck Xiao Chen with his palm, but he was still fine up until now. He was completely fine, and there were no signs of him being poisoned. What was going on? TSK, you can't take it anymore after just a few hits? When you tortured Tang and drugged her for experiments, did you ever consider her feelings? Xiao Chen released his pressure and walked toward Tang Qianling step by step with a very cold expression. Tang? Tang Qianling finally understood that Xiao Chen was standing up for that girl. At this time, he was full of regret and hurried to apologize. I didn't know that she was related to you. In fact, she didn't suffer much. She was born with a poisonous body, and I didn't even touch her. Chapter 1098. Oh, so you're saying that I should be thanking you? Xiao Chen walked in front of Tang Qianling. His expression was gentle and amiable, but his words were full of sarcasm, sending chills down one's spine. No, that's not what I meant. Tang Qianling was on the verge of tears. No matter what he said, he was in the wrong. Looking at Xiao Chen's posture, was he going to beat him to death? Seeing Tang Qianling trembling like a sieve, Xiao Chen sneered. Don't be afraid. I'm not planning to kill you yet. I've already said that you have to answer a few questions of mine, but I've changed my mind now. You have to agree to a few conditions of mine, otherwise, I don't have a good temper. You know the consequences. As soon as Xiao Chen finished speaking, he circulated his primordial qi and displayed his strength, creating a great pressure in the room. What conditions? Feeling Xiao Chen's power, Tang Qianling was instantly scared silly, even forgetting the pain in his body for a moment. He didn't expect that this guy was already a third-stage venerable. He was originally wondering why his martial arts skills were ineffective against him, but it turned out that the difference in strength between them was too great. Wasn't he just an ant trying to shake a tree? It's actually not too difficult, you can definitely do it. Xiao Chen spread his hands and said, First of all, you have to get rid of the controlled medicine that Tang took. Second, get rid of Tian Sour. Oh, the relationship between Tang Sour Corner and the Tang family, and restore her freedom. After Xiao Chen finished speaking unhurriedly, he snapped his fingers. Tian Suruan and Chixing slowly walked out of the shadows. They were even supporting Tang, who had a blank expression on her face and hollow eyes. Tang Qianling was startled again, staring blankly at the sudden appearance of these people. He didn't notice these girls hiding in the room earlier. Where did they come from? Naturally, Tang Qianling didn't know that Xiao Chen had set up an illusion to hide Tian Suruan and the others in the room, only allowing them to show themselves now. However, Tang Qianling couldn't care less now. only thinking about how to get out of here as soon as possible. How about it? Do I need to think for so long? Do you want me to help you think about it? Xiao Chun waved his fist in front of Tang Qianling and threatened. No need, no need. Tang Qianling quickly said. About this, I can't solve the chemical in Tang Tang's body. I can only go to the head of Awakening sect for the antidote, or rely on her own willpower to resolve it. As for the relationship between Tang Sujiao and the Tang family, I can dissolve it. This is definitely not a problem. Why is it related to the open heaven gate again? Did they also participate in the experiment? Xiao Chun frowned slightly and cast a questioning look at Xing Girl. In the end, he discovered that she was also at a loss. Tang, you're not fooling me, are you? Xiao Chun immediately clenched his fists and raised them. With a ferocious expression, he said, Jia Yubian has confessed everything. This experiment is led by your Tang family. Making such a clumsy lie won't do you any good. Looks like I have to wake you up again. Damn it, Jia Yubian is such a good-for-nothing. Tang Qianling cursed in his heart. He had long known that the guy's mouth was not tight, but he didn't expect that it would attract Xiao Chun. What a bad luck. Seeing that Xiao Chun's fist was about to hit him again, Tang Qianling was so scared that he hurriedly cried out. Don't do it first. Master Xiao Chun, I didn't lie to you. This experiment is indeed led by the Open Heaven Gate. I usually contact Elder Sun, and am responsible for providing him with resources. Elder Sun, then why did you cooperate with Jia Yubian? Xiao Chun paused and asked again. Tang Qianling could say this person's name, so it was possible that he wasn't lying. Due to the lack of experimental resources, I had to work with Jia Yubian in private. He was in charge of selecting candidates for the experiment from the Heavenly Jade Mine, while I looked for people in the secular world and the outer martial arts world. Tang Qianling hurriedly explained. After thinking for a while, he felt that Tang Qianling really didn't seem to be lying. Xiao Chun finally put down his fist and said with a calm face, Okay, then I will believe you this time. But this matter is not over yet. I will personally go to the Open Heaven Gate in the next 2 days to confront that Elder Sun. If there is any mistake in what you tell me now, then I will come back to you. At that time, it will not be as easy as it is now. Okay, Master Xiao Chun, go quickly. Tang Qianling nodded again and again, trying to squeeze a smile, but it looked terrible on his bloody face. I heard that the toxicity of this potion is very strong. If it is delayed for too long, I am afraid that it will cause irreversible damage to Miss Tang's body and brain. Although Tang Qianling pretended to be enthusiastic on the surface, he secretly scolded in his heart. You idiot! Do you think you are great because you are a venerable? You even want to run to the Open Heaven Gate to provoke them. At that time, they can send a few masters to kill you without a burial place. Don't talk about those useless things. Xiao Chun kicked Tang Qianling hard again and said impatiently, You know that you have to hurry up. Why don't you hurry up? Hurry up and write a document to prove that Tian Souring has broken off the relationship with your Tang family. Tian Souring stood aside and asked with a little worry. Husband Xiao Chun, can what he writes be counted? Do we have to go to the family head to write it? It's okay. Since he is now the young master, he still has this right. It is very simple. Xiao Chun turned his head and consoled her. Then he turned back and urged her with a fiendish expression. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and get the documents ready. Don't force me to serve you with my fists again. Oh yes, I'll write it now. Tang Qianling hurriedly stood up and rubbed the place where he was kicked. He limped to the desk, picked up a pen and paper, and lowered his head to write. Husband Xiao Chun, Sister Souring, can you go and punch him a few times? I have tolerated him for a long time. Tian Souring let go of her worry and immediately waved her little fist eagerly. In the past, when she was still in the Tang family, she was often bullied by Tang Qianling. Moreover, she could not complain to anyone, so she accumulated a lot of resentment. Go on, be gentle. Don't beat him to death, or it won't be fun. Xiao Chun smiled and nodded, teasing her. Little b asterisk tch Tang, you did not expect this day to come, did you? Sister Souring has waited for this day for a long time. Eat my palm. Ha! Tian Souring walked towards Tang Qianling with a sinister smile. then activated her mental cultivation method, recalled a few martial arts techniques from the 5 Poisons Secret Manual, and slapped Tang Qianling's back. Smack! Chapter 1099. Tang Qianling was working hard on his document. He was still in pain from being beaten up by Xiao Chun. He could not even hold his pen properly. Caught off guard, Tian Souring slapped him hard on the back. Even though the slap did not pose any threat to him, the force of the slap caused him to rush forward involuntarily. He accidentally cut the document that he was about to finish writing. What's going on? Little b asterisk tch Tang. Shouldn't you be vomiting blood from Sister Souring's beating? Why are you still perfectly fine? Seeing that Tang Qianling was only pushed and nothing else happened, Tian Souring suddenly felt a little depressed. Due to the huge difference in strength between Tian Souring and Tang Qianling, her slap was like hitting cotton. It did not pose any threat to Tang Qianling. Hearing Tian Souring's question, Tang Qianling was even more speechless. He looked at the torn document in front of him and almost exploded in anger. However, with Xiao Chun watching from the side, he did not dare to get angry at Tian Souring. He could only helplessly take out a new piece of paper and quickly copy it. Husband Xiao Chun, look. Tang Qianling, this little b asterisk starred, is acting shamelessly. Sister Souring can't even kill him with 10% of her strength. Is he cheating? This is not fun at all. Tian Souring stomped her feet and complained to Xiao Chun. Ahem, little b asterisk tch Tang. Hurry up and cooperate. Don't wait for me to make my move. Xiao Chun cleared his throat and cooperated with the advice. Tang Qianling gritted his teeth, but there was nothing he could do. He could only hand over the intact document to Xiao Chun first, then lay on the ground with a putong sound. He even screamed, I'm dead. F asterisk ck me, this is too fake. There's no drama at all. How boring. Even Sister Souring can't stand it. Tian Souring glared at Tang Qianling and pouted in dissatisfaction. Deep down, she knew that she was not strong enough. However, if Tang Qianling wanted to act, at least act properly. This performance was almost as bad as the Golden Raspberry Award. Forget it, Souring. Now that we have the thing, let's go to Chi Tian Men. Let's cure Tang Tang first. Xing Girl stopped her and walked over with Tang Tang's help. Although her expression was as calm as before, little girl Xing was somewhat conflicted in her heart. She didn't know if she should report Xiao Chun's preparations to go to the Awakening Heaven Gate to Elder Sunday. After all, she was still a member of Chi Tian Men. Her current task was to monitor Chi Tian Men and report his movements. She should be notified in advance. However, what made Xing depressed was that she knew that Elder Sun was also hiding a lot of things from her. Just like this kind of cruel human experiment, if she did not hear it with her own ears this time, she would not believe that Awakening Heaven sect would actually do such a thing. After struggling for a while, Xing decided not to say, Xing Xing at Tian Shi Qi, of Qi Xing Tian Tang Xing Chen Qi Yang Long He Xing. After struggling for a while, Xing Girl decided not to say it for the time being. She would adapt to the situation. Little b asterisk tch Tang. Do you know what to do tonight? Xiao Chun thought that the name Tian Souring gave him was quite pleasing to the ear, so he simply called him. NNN. Tang Qianling was lying on the ground. He didn't dare to make too much of a reaction. He just nodded mechanically. And in your head. Xiao Chun slapped his head and said angrily, Make it clear. Do you believe that I will give you another set of combination punches? I will keep my mouth shut. I won't tell anyone. Tang Qianling's head hit the ground with a bang. He was seeing stars, but he didn't dare to neglect. He quickly added, Today I just played games for a while. I was a little sleepy. When I was sleeping, I fell off the bed. That's why I got hurt. Very good. Xiao Chun smiled with satisfaction. If I find out that you are like a gossipy woman, spreading it everywhere, I will come back to have a good chat with you. Next time, it won't be as easy as beating you up. Do you understand? In fact, Xiao Chun wasn't afraid that Tang Qianling would say it. He just didn't want to implicate Jiao Muzhen. After all, he didn't have any foundation in the martial arts world. He could run away easily. However, The Tang family would definitely use this incident to find trouble with the Jia family. And clear. Tang Qianling still wanted to say in. Fortunately, he stopped in time and agreed. Xiaochen nodded. He folded the document and put it in his arms. Then he took the girls and disappeared from the room. Only Tang Qianling, who was crouching on the ground, didn't dare to get up until there was no movement for a long time. Xiaochen's footsteps were very fast. Before long, they had arrived at the woods outside the Tang family. Xiaochen saw that this place was relatively hidden, and no one would pass by, so he stopped. After all, the journey from the Tang family to the open heaven gate was very far. It would take at least 2 or 3 days. Xiaochen didn't want to tire himself too much with the girls. He planned to rest here for the night and continue on the journey tomorrow on his flying sword. After quickly setting up a simple tent, Xiaochen let the girls sleep in the tent while he kept watch outside. At the same time, he cultivated with the help of the rich spiritual qi of heaven and earth. The large families in the martial arts world would basically be stationed in the blessed enclave with the richest spiritual qi. The Tang family was no exception. This forest was considered the periphery of the Tang family. Although it couldn't be compared to the Tianyu mine, the spiritual qi was also quite high. For Xiaochen, it was better than nothing. It was night, and the stars were shining brightly. Light breathing sounds could be heard from inside and outside the tent. Little girl Xing lay in the tent, staring at the top of the tent with her eyes open. She didn't fall asleep for a long time and looked preoccupied. She felt that she had changed a little and was not like her former self. In the past, she never dared to do anything against Elder Sunday. Everything was led by the open heaven gate, and she faithfully executed the orders. But since she followed Xiaochen, not only was the competition not good, but she also directly forfeited. She also saved Xiaochen from the mine disaster, and even became his shield in the Jia family meeting. She even had to lie to Elder Sun for this. Now, even when he went to the Tang family to find trouble with Tang Qianling, she also found out so many secrets of the open heaven gate. She dared to hide such important information, and did not report it. It was simply too bold. How could this be? Did I fall in love with Xiaochen? Is that why I unconsciously hid the truth for him? Little girl Xing immediately denied it. No. Impossible. Xiaochen, that bastard, always bullied me. He even made me hit a tree before. I won't like such a bad guy. Or is it because Xiaochen is too powerful? Even if I secretly report to Elder Sun, it would be useless? Maybe as soon as I dialed the phone, I would be caught immediately. Chapter 1100. After all, Xiaochen could even easily defeat a consummate venerable like the Jia clan master. Would sect leader Situ also be helpless against him? However, Qi Tian sect was really too much. How could they use living humans as experiments? Those people should have beautiful lives and families waiting for them to return home. How could they use those free people as tools just for their own selfish reasons? When did the sect that she had always trusted become cold-blooded demons that disregarded their own lives? As she thought about it, Xing Shui felt that her brain was a mess. She could no longer tell right from wrong. She sighed and stopped her thoughts. She closed her eyes, calmed her heart, and fell into a deep sleep. Tianfang Province, Supernatural Investigation Department Headquarters. Ling Tian sat in his office and read through a stack of reports for a long time. His expression was extremely serious. After throwing the documents on the table, Ling Tian picked up his phone and told his secretary to gather a few deputy bureau chiefs for an emergency meeting. 5 minutes later, Xia Zhili, Song Billion, and a few other deputy bureau chiefs arrived at the meeting room and waited patiently. After a while, Ling Tian walked in with a stack of documents. He asked his secretary to distribute the documents to everyone else while he sat down at the head of the table. He picked up the cup of tea on the table and took a sip. After everyone had finished reading the documents, he prepared to give out the orders. Bureau Chief Ling, it seems like Xiaochen hasn't attended a meeting for a long time already. Furthermore, I don't think I've seen him come to work before. According to the regulations, this should be considered absenteeism, right? Shouldn't we discuss whether we can fire him? Before Ling Tian could say anything, Song Billion suddenly pointed at an empty seat and frowned. That seat was originally reserved for Xiao Chen. However, ever since he went to the research institute to escort the documents, he hadn't returned to work at the Supernatural Investigation Department. However, Ling Tian didn't remove him from his position as a deputy bureau chief. Thus, that seat had been empty for a long time, and no one else could replace it. Xiao Chen has been sent on a secret mission and won't be back for a while. If you don't have any other questions, let's start today's meeting. Ling Tian looked at Song Billion and said coldly. Wait. Song Billion's face darkened. He stood up abruptly and asked word by word. Director Ling, what secret mission is Xiao Chen carrying out? If you don't make things clear today, I think he's been absent for a long time. As the deputy bureau chief, he doesn't come to work all year round. The investigation bureau should dismiss him and fire him. I've already said that Xiao Chen is currently on a secret mission. You've been in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau for so many years, so you should be familiar with the relevant confidentiality regulations, right? Do you think it's appropriate for you to question him in public? Vice Bureau Chief Song, Ling Tian said angrily. He deliberately emphasized the words Deputy Bureau Chief Song, because he wanted Song Billion to be aware of his status. He didn't have the right to ask every question in public. That's strange. Of course I know the confidentiality regulations. I can almost memorize them. Song Billion sneered and retorted word by word. Since you want to make a fuss about the confidentiality regulations, then I would like to consult the acting bureau chief. I don't dare to say that. Just say it. Ling Tian's expression was a little stiff. Song Billion's mockery was too obvious. He also said the last few words loudly, purposely pointing out that he was only a second in command. This brat is really shameless. Among the people here, there aren't any low-ranking employees. They are all the deputy bureau chief of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, and have the right to know the situation. Why aren't you willing to say where Xiao Chen went? Are you purposely protecting him? Song Billion wanted this kind of effect. He immediately asked, not wanting to be outdone. He didn't even bother to use honorifics. Xia Zhili, who was sitting on the other side, glared at Song Billion. He was very unhappy. After all, Xiao Chen used to be his subordinate. Although he was now the deputy bureau chief, he was still on his side. Now that an outsider like Song Billion was pointing fingers at Xiao Chen, how could he tolerate it? Ling Tian rapped his knuckles on the table, staring at Song Billion as he slowly said, even though I'm only the acting director, I still have the authority to control the entire secret investigation department. This includes the authority to assign any member to any mission without informing anyone else. Don't you understand such a simple principle? At this moment, Ling Tian was already secretly angry. He was very dissatisfied with Song Billion's mocking attitude. However, in front of everyone, he suppressed his anger and didn't reveal it. This logic, I have never heard of it before. I wonder which section of the confidentiality regulations it is. I can go and look through it. Song Billion didn't back down as he pinched his nose and said sarcastically. This time, Ling Tian wasn't angry anymore. With a faint smile, he said sarcastically, forget it. You are only a deputy bureau chief after all. I won't blame you. If you have the chance to become the bureau chief in the future, you will naturally understand this logic. Ling Tian, stop making sarcastic remarks over there. Song Billion's face turned red from the sarcasm as he roared back. However, Ling Tian didn't even bother with him. Instead, he slowly picked up his teacup from the table and took a sip. His expression was as content as one could imagine. Song Billion suddenly calmed down as he said with a smile, from what I know, you once sent Xiao Chen to protect your granddaughter? I don't think this is within your scope of responsibility, right? Regardless of whether it is the bureau chief or the acting bureau chief, no one can abuse their authority. This doesn't seem too appropriate. Acting bureau chief, I wonder if you can give me a reasonable explanation? Song Billion had also found out about this matter by accident. Now was the perfect time to deal a blow to Ling Tian. Because Xiao Chen had made things difficult for Song Billion when he was still in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, Song Billion had always harbored a grudge against him. He always wanted to find an excuse to kick Xiao Chen out of the bureau. However, for some reason, Ling Tian seemed to have eaten the wrong medicine and would often cover for him, acting as the old hen in front of him. As a result, Song Bilian bore a grudge against the both of them. Now that he had finally found an opportunity, he naturally wouldn't let it go so easily. Pa! Explain your head. Ling Tian's expression changed slightly. Just as he was about to flare up, Xiaozhili couldn't take it anymore as he slammed the table heavily and scolded. Song Bilian, why don't you take a look at what kind of *T status you have? Why do I have to tell you everything? Even if I don't tell you, what can you do? You're really a F***king idiot. You don't know anything, and only know how to spout nonsense. Chapter 1101. You, Xiaozhili, you actually dare to scold me. Song Bilian did not expect Xiaozhili to actually curse in public, and was so angered that his entire body trembled. He glared at Xiaozhili and shouted, "What right do you have? Who do you think you are? Aren't you just a deputy bureau chief? Don't think that I don't know that you've been shielding that brat Xiao Chen all this while. I think you guys are just a bunch of snakes and rats. None of you are good people. F***ck, even if I really shielded Xiao Chen, what can you do about it?" Xiaozhili stood up in anger and rolled up his sleeves. He could not be bothered with the situation as he pointed at Song Bilian and scolded. "You're not convinced? If you're not convinced, let's go outside and have a spar. If I don't beat you up like a grandson today, I'll write my name backwards. You, brute. You're simply too unruly." Song Bilian clenched his fists tightly and wanted to rush forward to give Xiaozhili a few punches. However, he did not dare to do so. Not only was he unable to defeat Xiaozhili, he was also afraid that Ling Tian would use this as an excuse to kick him out of the bureau. Enough. I called you guys here because I have something important to discuss, not to watch you guys fight. If you guys really want to fight, wait until the meeting is over and find a corner to fight. Ling Tian slammed the documents in his hands onto the table and roared angrily. He was indeed a little angry. Although he usually shielded Xiao Chen, it was only because he cherished talent. Was such a small matter worth his subordinates arguing over? Besides, there were more important things to do. Xiaozhili and Song Bilian saw that Ling Tian was angry and restrained themselves. Perhaps they felt that they had gone overboard, so they glared at each other before sitting down silently. Seeing that the two of them were no longer arguing, Ling Tian rubbed his temples in frustration and said with a serious expression, "Has everyone finished looking through the documents? Recently, there have been many rogue cultivators who have mysteriously disappeared. Some of them have disappeared for a long time, while others have only disappeared recently. After they disappeared, there were no longer any traces of them. Since they have disappeared for a long time, why didn't they report it earlier? Did you wait until so many people disappeared before reporting it? Did the people below neglect their duties?" Song Bilian looked at the information in front of him and asked with a frown. Ling Tian glanced at Song Bilian. He could not tell if Song Bilian was truly suspicious or just bickering with him. However, he still patiently explained. Because the rogue cultivators in the mortal world usually do things their own way, no one would notice if they disappeared. Even if there were reports, the news would be scattered all over the place. It was only until we sorted them out that we realized that there were quite a few of them. Song Bilian pursed his lips and made a no sound, indicating that he understood. Ling Tian could not be bothered with him as he continued. "A few days ago, after I reported this matter to the Martial Artists Guild, I received an even more shocking piece of news. It turned out that in the outer martial arts world, there were also some cultivators who went missing one after another, and there were quite a few of them. Now, the Martial Arts Guild of the Outer Martial Arts World has suggested that we, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, investigate this matter together. So I want to hear everyone's opinion." After describing the contents of the meeting, Ling Tian took a sip of tea and sat there, waiting for everyone's suggestions. "I feel that, to be able to make so many rogue cultivators disappear, without a trace in such a long period of time, the strength and background of the person who is able to do such a thing is definitely not to be underestimated." Xiaozhili thought for a while and said cautiously, And from the looks of it, even the people of the outer martial arts world are helpless. I think that only some of the big families and sects of the inner martial arts world have the ability to do such a thing. Xiaozhili's guess had its basis. After all, the strength of the sects of the outer martial arts world was limited. Furthermore, they all knew each other inside out, not to mention the secular world. The various big families and clans were very clear about their own strengths, so he placed his guess on the inner martial arts world. If Xiao Chun was here, he would definitely applaud Xiaozhili. Based on the limited information he had, Xiaozhili's direction was actually pretty close to the mark. Che, when they don't need our help, they wouldn't let us participate in the affairs of the martial arts world no matter what. Now that they don't have enough strength, they have the cheek to ask for our help. These people of the martial arts world really have the cheek to open their mouths. Song Billion snorted in disdain. As the deputy bureau chief, Song Billion had a deep understanding of this point. Usually, when the martial arts guild sent people to help, they would raise their noses higher than the heavens. No matter what they were asked to do, they would arrogantly reject it. Who would have thought that they would actually take the initiative to look for the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, to ask for help? After living for so long, one could really see everything. Alright, don't talk about things that have nothing to do with the meeting. Ling Tian waved his hands, stopping Song Billion's complaints. After waiting for a while, the other deputy bureau chiefs also expressed their opinions. However, none of them had any constructive suggestions. They either agreed with Xiaozhili's words, or spoke ambiguously, expressing their resentment towards the martial arts guild. After listening to a round of discussion, Ling Tian knew that they were all people by Xiaozhili and Song Billion's side, so they wouldn't have any new ideas. Thus, he opened his mouth and said, "Since no one has any other suggestions, then let me make the decision. Everyone, vote on one person to head to the martial arts guild to cooperate with their investigation. Do you have any suitable candidates to recommend?" Different from Song Billion, Ling Tian didn't mind the martial arts guild's change from arrogance to respect, and was willing to cooperate with them. The key was that he heard from his granddaughter, Ling Qianyu, that after Xiao Chun and the others went to the martial arts guild, they immediately lost contact with them. There was no news of them at all, so he didn't know what the situation was like. Thus, Ling Tian was a little worried. He originally wanted to send a few of his trusted subordinates to search for Xiao Chen's whereabouts, but unfortunately, he didn't have any suitable candidates at the moment. Furthermore, he couldn't find a way to enter the martial arts guild, so he put it aside. Now that there was a chance, Ling Tian planned to use this chance to send someone over and cooperate with the martial arts guild to investigate. Who knows, they might have a chance to head to the martial arts guild to investigate the situation. If they could find Xiao Chun, they might be able to bring him back safely. Naturally, no one knew of Ling Tian's plans. Aside from Xiaozhili and Song Billion, the other deputy bureau chiefs all looked at each other. On the surface, they seemed to be thinking nervously, but in reality, without the two's instructions, they didn't dare to easily recommend a candidate. "I have someone I can recommend." Song Billion's eyes turned as he took the initiative to speak. Chapter 1102. Deputy Bureau Chief Song, "Why don't you tell me?" Ling Tian glanced at him and thought to himself, "This brat can't be up to something again, right?" Song Billion calmly said, "I feel that Song Huawu should be able to do this job. She has experience working with the outer martial arts sects in the past, and she knows quite a number of people from the Martial Artists Guild. I believe that she will be able to put in some words if she goes. There shouldn't be a problem sending her there." The reason why he recommended Song Huawu was because Song Billion felt that she was no longer on his side. Rather than keeping this lass here to cause trouble, he might as well send her away. Anyway, he did not like to see those outer martial arts guilds that said one thing, but did another. It was just right for him to send Song Huawu over to shut their mouths. Furthermore, it would be considered a promotion. At that time, the Song family would definitely be grateful to him. And I also agreed to send Song Huawu over. From her qualifications and past experience, she is indeed more suitable. Xia Zhili nodded his head in agreement with Song Bilian's suggestion. He was not trying to suck up to Song Bilian, but he had a vague feeling that this entire matter had something to do with Xiao Chun. Song Huawu had been looking for him frequently recently, constantly inquiring about Xiao Chen's whereabouts. Xia Zhili thought that he could make use of this opportunity to send her to the outer martial arts world to gather information. Who knows, she might be able to find Xiao Chen. On the contrary, Song Bilian was a little surprised. He stared at Xia Zhili strangely and felt puzzled in his heart. Why didn't this fellow object? Instead, he raised the flag of approval. Could it be that he was plotting something? With the two leaders recommending the same person, the people below did not have any objections. They all praised Song Huawu for being especially suitable for this task. They even praised the two talent scouts who were able to discern people from the smallest detail. Ling Tian did not notice the undercurrent of the people below. After pondering for a moment, he could not think of a better candidate. He then said, "Since the others have no objections, then let Song Huawu make the trip. Later, I will issue a dispatch document to her and ask her to immediately go to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to cooperate with the relevant personnel in the investigation. You don't need to assign her any other tasks. Well, the meeting is adjourned." After leaving the conference room in a hurry, Xia Zhili walked to an empty corner and took out his mobile phone to call Song Huawu. He asked her to come to his office. On one hand, he wanted to give her a heads up about the mission in advance, and on the other hand, he wanted to explain some matters related to Xiao Chun. Dong dong dong. Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, I'm Song Huawu. After a while, Song Huawu arrived outside Xia Zhili's office. She politely knocked on the door and called out softly, "Come in." Xia Zhili put down the work in his hands and gestured for Song Huawu, who had just pushed open the door, to find a place to sit first. He then picked up a document that had just been delivered on the table and handed it over. Seeing that Song Huawu took the document with a look of understanding and didn't look surprised at all, Xia Zhili had an idea and said, "It looks like you've already received the dispatch notice from Chief Ling, right?" Song Huawu nodded and said, "Yes. Chief Ling asked me to cooperate with the Willing Warriors Guild to carry out an investigation on the large-scale disappearance of rogue cultivators." "Yes." Xia Zhili pointed to the document and said, "This is the official written document. Later, someone will send you to the Willing Warriors Guild. At that time, you can hand the document to the person in charge there, and he will know to contact you." Okay. After Song Huawu put away the document, she hesitated for a moment and asked, "Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, do you have any other instructions for the mission? I came here this time because I have some questions to ask you. It's about Xiao Chen." Go ahead," Xia Zhili replied. He originally wanted to talk to Song Huawu about Xiao Chun, but he didn't expect this girl to bring it up first. "It's like this. I haven't been able to contact Xiao Chun for a long time, and the Bureau can't find any records of his actions. May I ask if you know where he is now?" Song Huawu asked with a frown. The two hadn't seen each other for more than a year, and Song Huawu missed Xiao Chun more and more. She also knew in her heart that after Xiao Chun became the deputy bureau chief, he would definitely have more tasks than before and would be busier. He might not have much time to accompany her, but even if he didn't have time, he should be able to contact her by phone occasionally, right? But Xiao Chun didn't even call her. If it weren't for the fact that she was also very busy with work and couldn't spare time, she would have long gone to the Xiao family to find him. "Actually, I haven't heard from Xiao Chun for a long time." Xia Zhili's expression was a little helpless. Previously, when the Quishan sect issued a kill order for him, he asked me to secretly arrange for him to study at Lon City University. But according to the latest news I received, the Quishan sect's leader, Ma Buqiu, has mysteriously fallen to his death in a small district in Lon City, and Xiao Chun is nowhere to be found. I've sent people to look for him, but they couldn't find him. Then is Xiao Chun in danger now? Song Huawu was shocked. Because these things were classified as the highest level of internal secrets, she had never heard anyone mention it before. Today was the first time she heard Xia Zhili mention it. "I'm not too sure about that." Xia Zhili shook his head and sighed. Currently, what I'm most worried about is whether Xiaochen is also under the control of the powerful forces in the internal martial arts world, like those missing rogue cultivators. If that's the case, then the problem will be more troublesome. Although he was the deputy bureau chief, and usually had an awe-inspiring presence in the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, there was nothing he could do about those martial arts people. His skills were inferior, so he could only endure it. Song Huawu was stunned for a long time after hearing this. Suddenly, she lowered her head and thought for a while. As if she had made a major decision, she bit her lower lip and said, Deputy Bureau Chief Xia, I don't want to take this mission anymore. Can you talk to Bureau Chief Ling and ask him to send someone else? I want to go to the internal martial arts world myself and look for Xiao Chun. Xia Zhili stared blankly and revealed an expression of realization. However, he still opened his mouth to reject her request. Xiao Song, I know that you're very worried about Xiao Chen's safety, but we can't be too impulsive. The internal martial arts world is a dragon's pool and tiger's den. It's not as simple as the secular world. Your strength is still too low. If you go there alone, I'm afraid it'll be difficult for you to escape unscathed. Song Hua lowered her head and did not speak. Her longing for Xiao Chun was getting more and more intense. Even if the internal martial arts world was a man-eating beast, she still wanted to go there. Seeing Song Hua's stubborn look, Xia Zhili knew that this little girl was still persevering. He softened his tone and analyzed carefully. Actually, you can also look for Xiao Chun by carrying out the mission. Think about it, you're alone. Even if you want to look for clues, you don't have a source. It's better to cooperate with the Warriors Guild of the external martial arts world and the internal martial arts world. At least they have more experience in this aspect, don't they? Chapter 1103. Song Huawu looked a little relaxed. What Xia Zhili said was right. If she went to the internal martial arts world, she would be in the dark. She didn't even know where to start. She could only hit a dead mouse by luck. The probability was too small. Moreover, the mission you are going to carry out this time is to find someone in the inner Wulin. You can take this opportunity to inquire about Xiao Chen's news. Isn't it much easier than going by yourself? Xia Zhili guided her patiently. Then, all right, I'll set off now. Song Huo pondered for a moment and finally calmed down from her impulse. Thinking that what Xia Zhili said was quite reasonable, she simply nodded and agreed. Well, that's good. The car has been prepared outside. If you have any questions or need help during the mission, remember to call me or look for Chief Ling. Xia Zhili nodded and gave a few more instructions. Song Huo stood up and left. Xia Zhili sent her off, then returned to his desk and stared blankly for a while. Xiao Chun, where have you been? Chief Ling said on the surface that he was carrying out a mission, but I guess he actually doesn't know what you've been doing. Sigh, so many people are watching your movements, I hope you're safe. Thinking of this, Xia Zhili shook his head and continued to devote himself to his work. Song Huawu arrived at the Outer Wulin Guild by car and directly found Vice President Nian to explain the purpose of her visit. Vice President Nian arranged for her to go to the conference room and wait for the people from the Inner Wulin Guild to come over before everyone discussed this matter together. Aya, isn't this our little friend Song Huawu? Why are you here? I haven't seen you for a long time. I thought you went missing. As soon as she walked into the conference room, Song Huawu heard a familiar soft voice, which made her bones melt. Song Huawu looked up and saw Miss Hongzhu standing not far away. Her figure was enchanting, and her eyes were full of affection. She was waving at her with a smile. She didn't expect to meet Hongzhu here, but thinking about it, she had a wide network after all. Song Huo twitched the corner of her mouth as a response. Oh, you know each other? That's great. You guys go ahead and chat for a while. I'll continue to wait at the entrance. Once everyone from the Martial Arts Guild has arrived, we can discuss the problem of the missing cultivators. With this, Vice Guild leader Nian did not even have to go through the formalities of introducing each other. She smiled and excused herself to Song Huawu and Red Candle. She then turned around and left the meeting room, preparing to welcome the people from Inner Martial Arts Guild. Hee, I didn't want to come either, but the higher-ups assigned me an important mission, so I had no choice but to come here personally. Song Hwawu recalled Hongju's question just now, and casually replied. Without waiting for Hongju to respond, she casually found a place to sit down, took out her phone, and began playing with it. All this time, she was thinking about how she could use this channel to inquire about Xiaochun. Io, don't be so cold. Weren't we on the same side when the demonic sect and the righteous sects held a summit? It's rare for us to meet, so why are you showing me such a bitter face? Can't we just have a nice chat? Don't tell me you don't want to see me? Hongju half leaned on the windowsill and teased her with a smile. Song Hwawu could not tell whether Hongju was sincere or just pretending, so she simply chose to play deaf and dumb, pretending not to hear anything and continuing to play with her phone with her head lowered. Seeing Song Hwawu's lack of interest and her attitude of not wanting to chat with him at all, Hongju curled his lips in boredom. He could only take out his phone and scroll through his moments, but he also looked absent-minded. The two women played with their phones for a while, feeling quite bored. However, they did not know what to say to break the deadlock, and the atmosphere in the meeting room suddenly became a little awkward. That's right. Have you seen Xiaochun recently? Not long after, the two women could not bear the loneliness any longer. They put away their phones at the same time and asked each other in unison. You first. Once again, they spoke in unison. The two women looked at each other and could not help but burst into laughter. The hostility in their hearts towards each other had also weakened a lot. Hongju raised his hand and made a please gesture, indicating for Song Hwawu to speak first. I haven't seen him for a long time. It's been more than a year. I haven't contacted Xiaochun, and he didn't take the initiative to call me either. I originally thought that he was busy, but later I found that I couldn't find him. I don't know if he encountered some trouble, sigh. Song Hwawu's expression was a little sad. She lowered her head and fiddled with her fingers, pretending to be indifferent. TSK. It seems that the relationship between you two isn't very good. But this is also very normal. Xiaochun is so outstanding. It's understandable that he has other women outside. You should be more open-minded and not limit yourself to small love affairs. Hongju shook his head. Even if Song Hwawu's tone was calm, he could still hear the depression in it. That's not what I mean, it's just that. Song Hwawu wanted to explain, but in the end, she did not say anything and changed her tone to ask, what about you? When was the last time you saw Xiaochun? Actually, I haven't seen him for a long time. Since the last time. Hongju paused, feeling that he should not mention the matter of Shen Jingxian, so he calmly changed his words and said, after meeting him at Little Hong's pharmacy, I haven't contacted him again. After all, I'm not familiar with him, so there's no need to harass him so often. Hongju that. Song Hwawu hesitated for a moment, then summoned her courage and said, your Hong Chamber of Commerce is so well informed, and I've heard that you have an organization like the Honging Group that specializes in gathering information. Are you still unable to find Xiaochun's whereabouts by relying on these? At this time, Song Hwawu was completely focused on Xiaochun and did not pay much attention to Hongju's strange behavior. You know quite a lot, huh? Hongju glanced at Song Hwawu and spread his hands helplessly. Although the Hong Chamber of Commerce and the Honging Group do indeed have many channels in the martial arts world, they usually have a lot of daily affairs to deal with. Besides, Xiaochun is not my husband, so what right do I have to mobilize all the resources of the Hong family just to find him? However, the truth was not as Hongju had said. In fact, she had secretly sent people to inquire about Xiaochun's whereabouts many times, but the information she had obtained was very fragmented and very limited. After all, Xiaochun had concealed his whereabouts too well, and even the Honging Group could not do anything about it. Say, is it possible that Xiaochun has been captured by the people of the martial arts world? Just like those missing cultivators this time. Otherwise, how could a living person like him suddenly disappear from the world without a trace? Song Hwawu asked worriedly. Chapter 1104. Song Huawu was completely flustered. If it were not for Xiao Chun, she would not have shown her weak side in front of Hong Zhu at all. I hope it's not like what you said. Otherwise, it will be a big problem. As far as I know, the situation in the internal martial arts circle is quite complicated. There are many factions and masters. If Xiao Chun is really taken away, I'm afraid he will be in danger. Hong Zhu frowned slightly, and was also a little worried. She had also considered this before. Therefore, after receiving this task, she took the initiative to come here to cooperate with this investigation. She also wanted to find out the whereabouts of Xiao Chun. After the two women chatted for a while, the door of the conference room was opened. Vice President Nian entered with the people of the Internal Martial Arts Guild. The two women stopped chatting and took their seats. They began to seriously discuss the content of this cooperation. However, this discussion did not have much effect, because the Internal Martial Arts Guild could play a very small role. It was so small that it was unexpected. It basically could not play any help in this investigation. The reason was also very simple. Compared with the external martial arts circle and the secular world, the power and influence of the Internal Martial Arts Guild was extremely small. Usually, no one would care about its voice. In the Internal Martial Arts circle, the families and sects did their own things. Moreover, each had their own backing. They were generally overbearing and fierce. They talked with their fists, and usually did not listen to the management of the Martial Arts Guild. Although the Internal Martial Arts Guild was very helpless about this situation, they also understood that the reason was that they were not strong enough. Although they had a few venerables, it was useless. In case of a major evil incident, they could do nothing but stand out weakly and mediate in the middle. In the hall of the Secular Martial Arts Guild, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao waited in the villa for a few days, but they did not receive Hong Zhu's call. After a discussion, they simply drove to the Martial Arts Guild to see if they could find any information there. To their surprise, as soon as they walked into the hall of the Martial Arts Guild, they saw a red notice flashing conspicuously on the task issuing screen. The two of them took a closer look and realized that it was actually a warning. It was a warning to all cultivators to be more careful when they were doing their missions. Currently, many cultivators have inexplicably disappeared, and their whereabouts have not yet been found. It is possible that there is an evil force behind this, so please pay more attention. Under the announcement, the list of people who had gone missing was scrolling. The two women turned pale with fright and had a bad feeling in their hearts. Did Xiao Chun also go missing? They hurried to the screen and stared at the name list for a while. After scrolling through all the names, they confirmed that they did not see Xiao Chun's name. The two of them heaved a long sigh of relief, but they were still a little worried. After discussing for a while, they decided to go to the Martial Arts Guild in the outer world to inquire about the news. Originally, Jin Beibei intended to go by herself, but Xiao Xiao insisted on going with her. Jin Beibei listed various dangers, but she still couldn't convince Xiao Xiao. In the end, she had no choice but to agree. Although Jin Beibei was taking Xiao Xiao with her, she was still a little worried. The Outer Martial Arts Guild was quite far away. If they ran into something unexpected on the way, such as the inexplicable disappearance that was mentioned in the announcement, she might be able to run away. However, Xiao Xiao was too weak and could not escape unscathed. Let's just take one step at a time. Thankfully, Jin Beibei's worries were in vain this time. The journey to the Outer Martial Arts Guild was relatively smooth. The two women reached the Outer Martial Arts Guild without meeting any obstacles. After they got off the car, the two women hurried to the guild. However, they were stopped by the guards before they reached the office area. Hey, stop right there. What are you two doing here? Don't you know that only staff members are allowed to enter this place? A tall guard stood in front of the two women and made a stop gesture. He glared at Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao and yelled, Sir, we have something very important that we need to talk to your manager. Could you please make an exception and let us in? Xiao Xiao was startled by the unexpected roar. She was a little scared, but she still summoned her courage and spoke carefully. What is it? The people in the Outer Martial Arts Guild are very busy. Don't come here for every trivial matter. The tall guard was going to drive them away directly, But he still asked after thinking for a moment. What if they really knew a big leader? In that case, wouldn't he have offended all of them? Here's the thing. My brother Xiao Chun is also a cultivator. He has been missing for more than a year. Right now our whole family is very anxious. Xiao Xiao was refreshed. It seemed that there was hope. She hurried to explain. Psycho, what does your brother's disappearance have to do with the Outer Martial Arts Guild? It's not like we made them disappear. Before Xiao Xiao could finish, the tall guard immediately interrupted her impatiently. I thought that you might be looking for a big leader, but it turns out that you are looking for a missing person. You made me waste so much time talking. Huh. But well. Xiao Xiao still wanted to argue, but the tall guard immediately waved his hands and said straightforwardly, Alright, cut the crap. If you want to find someone, go to the counter in front to register, and then go home and wait for the notification. After that, the tall guard rolled his eyes at the two women and mumbled in a voice that the two of them could hear. He has been missing for more than a year, and you only remembered to look for him now. What have you been doing before? Hey, don't you know how to chat, huh? My cousin-in-law Xiao Chun is a very awesome person. Everyone else respected him very much. Now that he has gone missing without a good reason, of course, the Outer Martial Arts Guild is responsible for looking for him. How can it have nothing to do with you? Jean Bebe rolled her eyes at the guard and protested in dissatisfaction. She had been trying to figure out a way to teach the arrogant guard a lesson. However, she felt that they were in somebody else's territory, and the two girls would certainly be at a disadvantage if they made a fuss. Eventually she gave up the idea. Alright. Cut the nonsense. If he is so awesome, how could he have gone missing? Don't mess around here. Otherwise, I will arrest all of you. Just go now. The tall guard was almost amused by Jean Bebe's bandit logic. He estimated that the two girls did not know the rules either. Therefore, he simply rolled his eyes and ignored them. Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao were still trying to argue for something when they suddenly saw a middle-aged man walking out of the meeting room from the gate behind the tall guard, followed by a bunch of people. They were immediately shocked and looked at each other in bewilderment. Knowing that it was not good, they stepped back quickly, thinking that they were really going to be arrested. Chapter 1105. What's going on outside? Why is it so noisy? Don't you know that an important meeting is going on inside? The middle-aged man who walked out was exactly Vice President Nian. He frowned and asked. As it turned out, they happened to be having a meeting on the investigation of the missing cultivators. Because of the weakness of the Martial Arts Guild, the meeting was in an impasse. Everybody racked their brains, but could not come up with a solution. Then they heard noises outside. No longer in the mood to continue the meeting, they simply came out to check the situation. Vice President Nian, it's the two crazy girls who are causing trouble. They claim that they are looking for an unaffiliated cultivator named Xiao Chun. After I asked them, I learned that he has been missing for more than a year. Therefore, I asked them to register at the counter in front, but they refused and kept pestering us for a while. I haven't had time to deal with them yet. I'm very sorry for interrupting your meeting. I'll drive them away right now. The tall guard was also shocked and hurried to report respectfully. Hardly had he finished his report when the tall guard immediately turned around and began to drive Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao away like an eagle chasing away chicks. The two girls had alarmed Vice President Nian. If he did not take care of them soon, he would be screwed if his salary was deducted later. Wait! Vice President Nian suddenly waved her hands and stopped the tall guard from driving them away. Scratching her chin, she mumbled deep in thought. Xiao Chun. The name sounds familiar. I seem to have heard it somewhere before, but I can't recall it now. Hong Zhu and Song Huawu had been standing at the back of the crowd. After hearing the name of Xiao Chun being mentioned, they looked at each other and walked to the front of the crowd at the same time. Coming to the front, Song Huawu and Hong Zhu were dazed when they saw Jean Bebe and Xiao Zhao's faces. They searched their memories, only to discover that they had absolutely no impression of the two of them. Song Huawu thought for a moment and asked first, May I ask, who are you to Xiao Chun? Looking at the two beauties in front of her, who each had their own characteristics, Song Hua felt that there was something weird in her heart. She did not know what was going on. Oh, my name is Jean Beibei. I am from the Jean family in the secular world. Xiao Chen is my cousin-in-law. Although she did not know Song Hua, Jean Beibei's intuition told her that the person was quite friendly and did not seem malicious. Therefore, she introduced herself first. Then, she pointed at Xiao Xiao and said, "She is Xiao Xiao from the Xiao family in the secular world. She is Xiao Chen's sister." Oh right. I remember now. The Xiao Chen of the Xiao family. Back then, I even helped Xiao Chen and Cheng Minjing's marriage as a peacemaker. No wonder this name sounds so familiar. I'm getting old and forgetful. Vice President Nian slapped her thigh and said with a look of realization. That's right, that's right. Cheng Minjing is my cousin. I'm her cousin. Jean Beibei was overjoyed. She hurried to add, "We are here for my cousin-in-law, but the guy at the door is not letting us in." The tall guard was sweating hard. He did not expect that the two crazy girls would be familiar with the person they were looking for. Even though they did not know the leader, he was screwed. His future was in danger. Well, according to the rules of the guild, I am only following. The tall guard was going to explain, but he stammered so hard that he could barely finish his sentence. Vice President Nian glared at him. Then she turned around and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, ladies. Since a lot of cultivators from the secular world and the foreign martial arts world have gone missing recently, we are still investigating. But there is nothing we can do right now. It is our duty to be a guard. Please don't take it to heart. Just go and register yourself according to the rules first. Leave the rest to us." Okay. Jean Beibei and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. Knowing that they would not get any information this time, they nodded gloomily and turned around, ready to go to the lobby outside to register. Hey, you two, wait a moment. Hong Zhu had been waiting for Song Hua to talk, but she seemed to be in a daze, as if she were thinking about something. Therefore, he could only stop Jean Beibei and Xiao Xiao. After stopping the two girls, Hong Zhu turned around and said, "Vice President Nian, I already know who Jean Beibei is. You can go back to your meeting first. Leave the rest to me. I'll take care of everything." After hearing Jean Beibei's introduction, Hong Zhu suddenly remembered that a message had been sent from Little Hong's pharmacy a few days ago, saying that a person named Jean Beibei had come to inquire about Xiao Chen and asked her to call back when she was free. Although Hong Zhu was also looking for Xiao Chen, she did not know Jean Beibei, nor did she understand the relationship between Jean Beibei and Xiao Chen. Therefore, she did not take it to heart and forgot to call Jean Beibei back. She only remembered when she heard the name. Jean Beibei blinked and eyed Hong Zhu up and down in confusion. Although she had heard of Hong Zhu's name before, she had never met the guy in person. Therefore, she did not know who the charming girl with the gentle voice in front of her was. Therefore, when Hong Zhu and Vice President Nian mentioned that they knew each other, Jean Beibei could not help but feel that it was odd. However, since she had volunteered to help, she must know something about her cousin-in-law. Naturally, Jean Beibei would not raise any questions right away. Instead, she wisely chose to remain silent. All right, we'll go in now. You can come back to the meeting after you're done here. Vice President Nian nodded and did not think too much about it. She turned around and led her people into the meeting room. After seeing off Vice President Nian, Hong Zhu turned around and said to Jean Beibei, "Ladies, please wait in the lobby for a while. Song Hua and I are in a meeting. We will come to discuss Xiao Chen with you immediately after we're done. Is that okay?" Okay. Then Xiao Xiao and I will go and get something to eat first. After a day's journey, Beibei is about to pass out from hunger. Jean Beibei hurried to nod her head. She touched her flat belly and exclaimed in joy. She and Xiao Xiao had planned to find a place to eat on the way, but the mountain road was too rugged for them to find a decent restaurant. Therefore, they had been starving until now. That's fine too. There's a restaurant right next door. You can go there and eat first. We will go there immediately after the meeting is done. Hong Zhu nodded. He left Jean Beibei's and Xiao Xiao's phone numbers carefully before he turned around and walked into the meeting room. Song Hua smiled and nodded at the two of them. She then looked at Jean Beibei thoughtfully before she turned around and followed Hongzhu into the meeting room. After Hongzhu and Xiao Xiao were gone, Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao pursed their lips at the embarrassed tall guard. Not wanting to talk to him anymore, they turned around and left the Guild of External Martial Arts Society for a meal in a restaurant. Chapter 1106. The heated discussion in the meeting room lasted for more than an hour, but no conclusion was reached in the end. They only speculated that the disappearance of the cultivators must have been done by a certain family or sect in the internal martial arts world. The reason was exactly the same as Xia Zhili's speculation. As for the rescue plan, they discussed it for a long time, but failed to come to a decision. After all, everybody was well aware of the dangers of the internal martial arts world. Therefore, nobody was willing to go. The meeting fell into an impasse again. Therefore, they could only end the meeting in a hurry and wait for the follow-up meeting to resolve the issue. After the meeting was over, Song Huawu and Hongzhu went to the tavern next door and found Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao. Looking at the leftovers on the table, the two of them were not too bothered. After all, they were not there to eat. They simply sat down and ordered something to fill their stomachs. While waiting for the dishes to be served, Song Huawu opened her mouth and said, "Sorry to have kept you waiting." Xiao Xiao wiped her mouth with a napkin. Looking at the mess on the table, she said in embarrassment, "It's all right. We've just finished eating too." The two of them were truly starving. That was why they had eaten so much food in a row. Jin Beibei glanced at Hongzhu and asked in a somewhat vigilant manner, "Miss, may I ask how you know me? If I remember correctly, this is the first time we've met each other, isn't it?" "Right. What's the relationship between you and my cousin-in-law? It seems that you are very familiar with him." "Well, who is your cousin-in-law?" Hongzhu lowered his head and had some porridge. He felt refreshed. When Jin Beibei's cousin-in-law suddenly popped into his ears, he did not realize what was going on. He was dazed for a moment and asked back subconsciously, "Hee, don't take it to heart, sister. Beibei likes to fool around." Xiao Xiao smiled casually and hurried to explain, "The cousin-in-law she mentioned is my brother. We are looking for Xiao Chen. I wonder, how did you two beautiful sisters know Xiao Chen?" "Oh, I almost forgot. I haven't asked for the names of the two sisters." "Oh, my name is Hongzhu." Hongzhu shrugged and finished the porridge in the bowl. Then, he looked at Jin Beibei and said apologetically, "A few days ago, a subordinate of mine in the mortal world reported to me that a girl named Jin Beibei had come to Little Hong's pharmacy and wanted to talk to me about something important. However, I was rather busy at that time, and the name Jin Beibei did not ring a bell. Therefore, I put it aside and did not have the time to pay attention to it. I only remembered it after I heard it today." "Oh, so you're Hongzhu. I was wondering how you knew me." Jin Beibei pursed her lips and grumbled a little unhappily, "But you are too proud. I went to the pharmacy to leave you a message, but you didn't even reply to me. If Xiao Xiao and I didn't take the initiative to find you, we probably wouldn't have met." Hongzhu smiled and said, I'm sorry. It's just that too many things have happened over the past few days. As you all saw just now, we've been in a meeting for so long that we really haven't been able to take care of everything. Forget it. Beibei is very magnanimous." Jin Beibei waved her hands casually. Although Hongzhu's explanation was not satisfactory, Jin Beibei did not want to argue with him anymore. After all, finding Xiao Chen was the most important thing right now. Seeing that the introduction had come to an end, Xiao Xiao looked at Song Huawu, who had just finished the porridge, and asked, "How should I address you, sister?" "I'm Song Huawu from the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. I used to be a partner with Xiao Chen. I wonder, has he ever mentioned me as his girlfriend to you?" Although Song Huawu's tone was rather plain, there was a hint of pride in it. Her eyes had never left Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao's faces. She was staring at them closely. Although Song Huawu had never heard Xiao Chen mention other women before, her woman's intuition told her that the two girls in front of her must have a complicated relationship with Xiao Chen. Jin Beibei, in particular, was very happy every time Xiao Chen's name was mentioned. She was smiling so brightly that her face was almost blooming. She looked rather suspicious. As for Xiao Xiao, Song Huawu felt that since she was Xiao Chen's younger sister, She should not have any ambiguous relationship with Xiao Chun. After all, they were family and related by blood. How could she do such an unethical thing? In fact, Song Huao was not being petty. She just felt that the women around Xiao Chun were all beauties and of high quality. Although she did not think that Xiao Chun would dislike the old or favor one woman over the other, she was still worried that her position in Xiao Chun's heart might be significantly lowered. Ow! Ow! My cousin-in-law is so awesome. You can even win over such a beautiful sister. If cousin Minjing learns about it, she will probably be driven mad. Hee hee. Jean Bebe could not have been more excited. She was laughing so hard that her eyes almost disappeared. She could not help but secretly compare Cheng Minjing and Song Huawu. However, no matter how she compared them, Jean Bebe still could not tell who was better. She felt that the two of them seemed to have their own specialties and were on par with each other. However, Song Huawu seemed to be more mature and charming. Sister Bebe, we are talking about serious business right now. Can you not talk about such heartless things? Xiao Xiao looked at Jean Bebe helplessly. She was somewhat upset. She had obviously been triggered by the word girlfriend that Song Huawu had mentioned. However, Xiao Xiao's emotional fluctuation did not escape Song Huawu and Hong Zhu's eyes. After looking at each other, they both understood what was on each other's mind. Therefore, they did not intend to pursue the topic further. After all, they were not in the right place, and it was not the right time to talk about such things. However, what secretly surprised Song Huawu was that Xiao Xiao was Xiao Chen's younger sister. Wasn't she? Was she in love with him too? Wasn't it a bit inappropriate? Was there more to it than meets the eye? Well, if you don't want to talk about it, I won't talk about it. Jean Bebe scratched her nose in boredom. She glanced at Xiao Xiao, feeling somewhat suspicious too. Sister Hongzhu, Sister Huawu, may I ask if you've seen my brother recently? Xiao Xiao shook her head as she cast aside those unpleasant thoughts, and asked with an anxious expression. Song Huawu shook her head and answered helplessly. I haven't seen him for more than a year, and Hongzhu even longer. So we are both looking for him too. Xiao Xiao's face immediately fell. She said gloomily, my grandpa and my father are dying of anxiety. They have been looking for my brother for almost a year. Other than the news that he was hunted by the Kuei Mountain sect, and that Mabuchio, the leader of the Kuei Mountain sect, fell to his death in Lan City, there is no other news about Xiao Chun. That's the same information on our side. It seems that the news about Xiao Chun in the secular world stopped abruptly after that part. Song Huawu slightly frowned. Everybody's information seemed to be more or less the same. Chapter 1107. Could it be that Ma Baoqiao was killed by my cousin-in-law? Xiao Chen's cousin-in-law is so powerful. It's a piece of cake for him to kill a sect leader. Jean Bebe suddenly slammed the table and asked excitedly, her face full of admiration. I'm not sure about that. Hongzhu was stunned and poured cold water on Jean Bebe. But I heard that Ma Baoqiao is at the level of Demon King Peak. Xiao Chen shouldn't be able to kill him yet, right? Song Huawu hesitated for a while and turned around to ask, Hongzhu, can I ask you for a favor? I know you're usually very busy and have a lot of things to do. Can you ask the Honging team to ask the Hong family to investigate it for me? I'm worried that the Quishan sect will fly into a rage out of humiliation and go after Xiao Chen again. Then, his situation will become very dangerous. You don't have to worry about that. After I heard about it, I immediately sent the Honging team to investigate it. Hongzhu leaned on his seat with a seductive posture and analyzed with a charming voice. Although Ma Baoqiao's death wasn't caused by Xiao Chun, I guess there must have been an accident. So the Quishan sect isn't well prepared and is still in a mess. As for Xiao Chun, they definitely can't take care of him in a short time. It's still a safety factor. Then why did my brother go missing? Since the Quishan sect didn't kill him, why didn't he come back? At least tell us that he's safe. Xiao Xiao sounded like she was about to cry. Taking a deep look at Xiao Xiao, Hongzhu pondered and said, although my Honging team can investigate the situation of the Quishan sect, we really can't find the whereabouts of Xiao Chun. I guess he might have gone missing like the other practitioners. According to the result of our discussion in the previous meeting, It might be a conspiracy of a family, or a sect in the internal martial arts world. However, we still don't know who it is. In truth, Hongzhu was not particularly concerned about Xiaochen. It was only because Shen Jingxian had repeatedly instructed Hongzhu to pay attention to Xiaochen's safety and prevent him from causing too much trouble in the secular world, that Hongzhu had specifically sent people to investigate Xiaochen. Thinking of the demon that was hiding behind the unknown, the four women fell into silence. Their worry and longing for Xiaochen only increased. There was a moment of silence. Song Huawu pondered for a while, and felt that she still had to find a way to find Xiaochen. Whether he had gone to the inner martial arts world, or other more dangerous places, she had to find him. After all, when she was on the verge of death, Xiaochen had done everything he could to pull her back from the brink of death. If it wasn't for Xiaochen's unreserved efforts, the name Song Huawu would have vanished into thin air and vanished from everyone's memories. Now that Xiaochen had encountered an unknown danger, Song Huawu believed that she should spare no effort to save him. No matter how powerful the forces she had to face were, she had to try her best. Hongzhu. After making up her mind, Song Huawu broke the silence and said in a low voice, "During the meeting just now, didn't the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts World Guild say that if someone was willing to investigate the missing cultivators, he could find a way to escort them into the inner martial arts world?" Since she had decided to look for him, she had to enter the inner martial arts world. Song Huawu recalled the vice president's mobilization order from the previous meeting and could not help but feel a little tempted. Before the meeting had begun, the Supernatural Investigation Bureau, the Outer Martial Arts World, and the Inner Martial Arts World had already jointly established an alliance investigation team. They had agreed to send people to the Inner Martial Arts World together to investigate the disappearance of the cultivators. Although everyone had unanimously said that they must find the real culprit behind this matter, when it came to deciding on the final candidate to go to the Inner Martial Arts World, they all became hesitant. After all, everyone knew that the situation in the Inner Martial Arts World was ever-changing and very dangerous. None of them were fools who would be willing to take the risk to do such a dangerous thing while doing a good job in their own posts. During the meeting, the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts World Warrior Guild had mobilized for a long time, but no one had volunteered. Although the Inner Martial Arts world seemed to be rich in resources and high level, there were powerful experts everywhere. Moreover, it was very difficult to distinguish them. After going there, they might not necessarily provoke someone. If they provoked someone they shouldn't provoke, then they would be done for. It can't be right? You mean, don't tell me that you want to go to the inner martial arts world yourself, just to look for Xiaochen? Hongzhu asked with some surprise. She really did not expect that Song Huawu would have such deep feelings for Xiaochen. She would even disregard her life for him. Seeing that Song Huawu had firmly nodded, Hongzhu frowned, but still tried to persuade her out of goodwill. Huawu, I think you should first think about it carefully before making a decision. The situation in the inner martial arts world is much more complicated than you think. If you enter the inner martial arts world with your current strength, it is very likely that you will be left there. Hongzhu, you don't need to persuade me. I have already decided. Song Huawu clenched her fists and said with a resolute face, I can't let Xiaochen suffer in the inner martial arts world alone, while I live freely and happily outside. I must rescue him, and even if I can't rescue him, I must die together with him, because I don't want to be an ungrateful person and live a life filled with guilt. Song Huawu had always been a person who could clearly distinguish between kindness and hatred. In her opinion, she had finally let down her guard with great difficulty and had set her mind on Xiaochen. If she could never be together with him in the future, then there would be no meaning in living in this world. Great. Bebe is also going to the inner martial arts world to find my cousin-in-law. Sister Huawu, take me with you. If you run into any danger, we can take care of each other. Jean Bebe danced with joy and said to Song Huawu excitedly. Although she had heard that the inner martial arts world seemed to be very dangerous, Jean Bebe felt that she had always been lucky and would certainly not run into any trouble. Then I will go with you. Xiao Xiao thought for a moment and also said, I can't go back to the Xiao family just like this. Now that I know that my brother might show up in the inner martial arts world, I have to find him and bring him back. Otherwise, my grandpa and my father will worry for nothing when they know it. Bebe, Xiao Xiao, you two should stop fooling around with Song Huawu. It is already troublesome enough for her to go to the inner martial arts world on her own. She can barely take care of herself and has no time to take care of other people at all. You'd better stay here peacefully and wait for the news. Hongzhu was greatly shocked and hurried to stop them. She was somewhat resentful. She had intended to persuade Song Huawu to give up the idea of going to the inner martial arts world on her own. But now, not only did Song Huawu fail to persuade her, even Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao were going with her. Chapter 1108. Sister Hongzhu, don't worry about our safety. Sister Huawu doesn't need to look after us. We can take care of ourselves. Also, I'm already a martial master. Nobody would dare to cause us trouble if we beat them up. Jean Bebe waved her little fists in excitement, not taking it seriously at all. Well, Hongzhu's back was drenched in cold sweat. You're only a martial master. How can you call yourself a master? You should know that all the people in the inner martial arts world are martial kings and martial venerables. You're just a martial master. Aren't you a sheep walking into a tiger's mouth? However, seeing the determination in Song Huawu, Jean Bebe, and Xiao Xiao's eyes, Hongzhu knew that he could not change their mind no matter what he said. Okay, I agree with you, but I have a condition. I have to go with you. Otherwise, I will never agree. Hongzhu nodded helplessly. She was now the manager of the Hong Chamber of Commerce in the outer martial arts world. However, the Hong family belonged to the inner martial arts world and had to travel between the inner and outer martial arts world. Therefore, it was normal for her to join the inner martial arts world. She could protect these girls. Besides, she had promised Shen Jingxian that she would protect Xiao Chen. Since he might be in danger, she certainly could not ignore it. Otherwise, she would be blamed by Shen Jingxian. Wow, that's great. Bebe's invincible adventure team is established. Our goal is to bring Xiao Chen's cousin-in-law back in one piece. Jean Bebe cheered. It seemed that she could not wait to show off her skills. After the meal, the girls found the vice president of the Inner Martial Arts Guild and told him the details. Hongzhu and Song Huawu introduced Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao to him. Although they had met each other just now, they had not introduced them formally. The vice president was very happy when he heard that someone was willing to join the investigation team. However, after asking about their strength, he immediately shook his head like a rattle drum and refused to let them join the investigation team. All of them hadn't even reached the Martial King realm or the Demon King realm. Yet they still wanted to investigate others? It would be great if they were not investigated. The risk was too great. However, what the vice president didn't expect was that these girls would take turns to beg, act cute, act coquettishly, and even threaten him in the end. Unable to resist, the vice president had no choice but to agree to their request. But even though he agreed, he also raised a few conditions and warnings. First of all, after entering the inner martial arts world, the warrior guild would no longer provide any help, and it was impossible for them to send people out to protect the girls. The reason was very simple. This investigation was an extremely secretive operation. If their whereabouts were exposed, the entire Inner Martial Arts Guild would be destroyed in an instant. Secondly, no one else would participate in this operation. So no matter what trouble the girls encountered, they were not allowed to expose the guild. Otherwise, their families would be severely punished. Finally, if someone spilled the beans, or if someone learned of the inside story under various circumstances, and came to the guild to ask, the Internal Willing Warrior Guild would also completely deny this secret operation. So the girls needed to pay more attention to it. Song Huawu and the other girls whispered to each other for a while and reached a consensus. This time they were mainly going to find Xiao Chen. As for the investigation of the missing cultivators, they had to wait until they found Xiao Chen. Besides, they also felt that it would be inconvenient to act if there were too many people. Therefore, they agreed to the requirements gladly. Naturally, the vice president did not know what they were planning. Seeing that they had agreed, he did not say anything else, but arranged a well-concealed channel and sent them into the inner martial arts world with his subordinates. Everything went well on the way. After they arrived safely, the vice president repeatedly warned the girls to pay attention to their own safety. Then, when nobody was paying attention to them, he left quickly with his subordinates. Although Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao had entered the inner martial arts world with zeal, they had not made any plans or arrangements after they entered the place. They did not have the time to consider at all. They did not have the slightest clue about how they should inquire about Xiao Chen's whereabouts. Also, having just entered the inner martial arts world, the three of them were rather curious about the environment around them, but they were quite nervous. Thinking of the warning that the inner martial arts world was highly dangerous, they did not dare greet other people casually, and were always on high alert. Seeing the three girls' attitude, Hongzhu was somewhat helpless too. She could only take them to an inn and check in. Then she went out and bought some clothes for them. She changed them into the ancient clothes that were in line with the symbol of the inner martial arts world. Then, she briefly explained some of the rules of the inner martial arts world to them, and arranged for them to take a rest. Hongzhu was very clear that it was not suitable for her to investigate immediately given the current situation. She planned to wait for the girls to adapt to the new environment for a few days, before she began to investigate the whereabouts of the missing cultivators and Xiao Chen. When Song Huawu and her companions arrived at the inner martial arts world, what was Xiao Chen doing? He was riding his flying sword in the sky, taking Chixing, Tian Suruan, and Tang Tang to open Heaven Gate. As Xiao Chen flew, he suddenly sensed something. He stopped and floated in the air, turning his head to look in another direction. What's wrong? What happened? Did someone catch up with us? Chixing asked in surprise when she saw Xiao Chen's abnormal behavior. Well, no, I just had a strange feeling. I can't explain it. Xiao Chen was also stunned after he stopped, not knowing what was wrong with him. Just now, he had a vague feeling that someone was calling him in a friendly way, but when he listened carefully, he found nothing. Oh, have we arrived? Sister Suruan is starving. Tian Suruan stuck his head out from behind Tang Tang and asked curiously, well, it's still early. It's estimated that there's still half the journey. If you're hungry, take some dry food from the bag and eat. Xiao Chen shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Eating dry food all the time, Sister Suruan is starving. Tian Suruan curled his lips. He hadn't had a good rest after traveling day and night for the past few days. Although he wasn't physically tired, he was still mentally tired. Xiao Chen, let's go down. It's not suitable to use flying swords for the rest of the journey. Xiao Chen was about to make a few jokes when Chixing looked ahead for a while and suddenly said, why? Xiao Chen was a little puzzled. Although he didn't know what Chixing wanted to do, he still controlled the flying sword and slowly landed on the ground. Because we have already flown more than half the distance. A few hundred miles ahead is the boundary of the open heaven gate. Little girl Xing pointed to a direction in front of them and explained, if we continue to go forward and use flying swords instead of walking, it will be too conspicuous, and it will be very easy to be discovered. Chapter 1109. Jin Beibei was so infuriated that her little face was livid and pale. She was itching to burst into rage and beat up the guard. However, considering the situation she was in, she could only hold back her anger and hide behind the guard. However, it did not work at all. Well, I'm fine. Don't worry. I'll be fine after resting for a while. Xiao Xiao comforted the others, looking a little upset. If it weren't for the fact that she was too weak, she wouldn't have been a burden to them. Fortunately, the girls did not endure it for long. A young man with an arrogant expression came over. When the leading guard saw him, he immediately jumped to him and bowed to him with a big smile. Xiao Chen and Xing Chik smiled helplessly and helped Tang Tang to walk forward. The intimacy they had felt before did not appear again, so Xiao Chen did not take it to heart anymore. Hong Zhu unloaded his backpack and took out some water and food. He distributed them to the other 3 girls while he observed the situation in front of them. He said, "You guys should eat something to fill your stomach first. There's a town about 3 kilometers ahead. We'll stay there tonight." After pondering for a while, Xiaochen nodded and said, "Oh, okay then. Let's go on foot. It's only a few days anyway. Tang should be able to hold on." Song Huawu was stunned and did not know how to answer for a moment. She felt a little baffled. There was not even a sign nearby. Who would know that this was the territory of the Tang family? Seeing that Hong Zhu did not respond, the girls fell silent too, and waited for the person in charge of the Tang family that the leading guard mentioned. Although it would take more time to go to the open heaven gate on foot, it was much better than exposing their traces. "I don't know the name of this place either, but there seems to be a family nearby. Let me think. Right. This is..." Before Hong Zhu's voice died away, his face suddenly changed. Rustling noises came from not far away. Then, more than 10 guys dressed as guards rushed out of the dense forest and surrounded them. However, like the other 3 girls, there were not many people who accepted Hong Zhu's offer. There were also some people who saw that these girls were very beautiful and openly took liberties with them. Although they did not do anything frivolous, it still made these girls feel very unhappy. However, they were not as strong as Hong Zhu, so they could only grit their teeth, swallow their anger and stay far away. Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao did not know the first thing about the internal martial arts world. Therefore, they could only ask with their mouths, with little success. Hong Zhu's family, on the other hand, was a medium-sized family in the internal martial arts world, and they appeared to be mainly engaged in business. Therefore, she could only try to ask for intelligence from other people. Every time the women put on a smiling face and asked questions, they would always run into a wall. The cultivators they met basically didn't know anything. Some of them were even extremely unfriendly and didn't bother to cooperate and answer their questions. They didn't even give them a good look. Although they had already prepared themselves for things to not go smoothly, what they did not expect was that they could not even take the first step, let alone not going smoothly. But not too long after, Hong Zhu began to feel a little uncomfortable. She could see the vulgar gazes of the guards constantly sweeping between her and the other women, and even whispering to each other with dirty smiles on their faces, which made her feel very uncomfortable. Song Huawu and the rest of them also noticed that something was wrong, especially the leader of the guards. His eyes were staring at Jin Beibei's breasts without blinking. His eyes were so blatant that they seemed to be glued to them. The young man talked to the leader of the guards in a low voice first. Then he turned around and looked at Song Huawu and the rest of them. However, when his eyes fell on Hong Zhu, he was stunned for a moment. Song Huawu took over the bottle of mineral water and had a sip. Then, she turned around and looked at the strange environment around and asked, "Hong Zhu, where are we right now? Why does it seem that everywhere around here is the same?" On this day, while they were walking, Xiao Zhao's legs suddenly gave way, and she fell to the ground, probably because she was too tired. Jin Beibei and Song Huo happened to be walking behind her. They were greatly shocked to see that, and immediately helped Xiao Xiao to the side of the road, to sit on a boulder to check her wounds. "Brother, don't be too nervous. We are all from the Hong family." Hong Zhu cupped his fists. Relying on the convenience of his family, he easily replied, "A few disciples of our Hong family mysteriously disappeared a while ago, so the family had specially sent us out to inquire about their whereabouts. We just so happened to pass by your precious land and wanted to head to the small town up ahead, but we didn't expect to accidentally enter the Tang family's territory. Please do us a favor." Xiao Chen had been carrying the black badge with him all the time. Although he did not know how to use it, it seemed that as long as Tang was around the badge, she would keep quiet and eat and sleep, except that she did not have any divine sense. "Xiao Xiao, are you all right? Let's take a rest here for a while. We've been on the road for half a day. You must be hungry too." Hong Zhu turned around and examined Xiao Zhao's condition carefully. He discovered that she had only sprained her ankle and should be fine. She was probably too tired to walk. "You are from the Hong family?" The leader of the guards eyed Hongzhu suspiciously and winked at the guards behind him. Then he took out his phone and walked to the side. The dozen or so guards, on the other hand, were guarding Hongzhu and his companions solemnly. The leader of the guards was very tall and sturdy. He glanced at Song Huawu and her companions with his eyes as sharp as swords and demanded loudly, "How dare you? How dare you break into the Tang family's territory without permission? What are you doing? Explain yourself now." Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, were both startled. They looked at Hongzhu uneasily. After all, they were in the inner martial arts world, which was different from the secular world. Therefore, they did not dare to speak carelessly. After staying in the inn for 2 days, Song Huawu and her companions finally lost their curiosity and wariness toward the inner martial arts world, and gradually melted into the atmosphere of the inner martial arts world. Seeing that it was about time, Hongzhu led them to inquire about Xiao Chun and the other missing cultivators. Hongzhu frowned slightly. Obviously, he was very dissatisfied with the arrogant attitude of the leader of the guards. However, they were surrounded by so many armed people, and Xiao Xiao had sprained her ankle. It was not convenient for them to move around. Therefore, they had no choice but to wait. Oh yeah, then Sister Sour Sour can go to the town in front and have a feast. Let's go. Tian Sour Sour was so happy that she jumped up and down and ran forward excitedly. The leader of the guards dialed a number and said a few words in a low voice. Then, he turned around and arrogantly said to Hongzhu, "All of you stay here and don't move. I suspect that your identities are fake. You can only leave after the person in charge of the Tang family comes to verify your identities." Chapter 11:10. Aya, isn't this the second daughter of the Hong family? What a distinguished guest. Why didn't you tell us in advance that you were coming to visit our Tang family, so that I could have sent someone to welcome you, right? Tang Qianqi immediately rushed over and said with a smile on his face. That's right, it's not a misunderstanding. When he received the call from the leading guard, he didn't come over immediately. Instead, he went to Tang Qianling's room and briefly reported the situation. Tang Qianling panicked when he learned that the group of people who had inexplicably appeared were looking for the missing disciples of the Hong family. Wasn't this what he had done? Could it be that there were people from the Hong family among those cultivators? But no one had told him about it. What a trap! Even if they were looking for someone, they couldn't have just randomly looked for them. Now they had come knocking on his door, hadn't they? However, after panicking for a while, Tang Qianling quickly calmed down. After thinking for a while, he felt that the matter was definitely not that simple. Although the shady business he had done could not see the light of day, he still had basic common sense. Moreover, all this time, he had ordered his subordinates to look for people from the martial arts world and the secular world. It was impossible for anyone to be so bold as to use people from the martial arts world as experiments. Tang Qianling believed that they were not that stupid. In order to figure out the real intentions of this group of people, Tang Qianling decided not to show up for the time being. He would let Tang Qianqi first get some information from the Hong family, and then act according to the circumstances. Tang Qianqi, that's enough. Don't talk so sarcastically. Since you know who I am, why don't you hurry up and tell those guards to get out of the way? I still have serious matters to attend to, and I don't have time to chat with you here. Although Tang Qianqi was very attentive, Hongzhu did not pretend to be polite and said impatiently. Previously, she had already been baptized by the gazes of the surrounding guards countless times, which had already made her extremely unhappy. Now that a sloppy and disgraceful person had come, Hongzhu's mood was extremely terrible. Most importantly, this guy in front of her, whose eyes were shining, had once had a crush on her. Although Tang Qianqi had only seen Hongzhu once or twice, Hongzhu's gentle and enchanting seductive charm had completely captivated him. He firmly believed that Hongzhu was the love of his life, and launched an incomparably powerful offensive to pursue her. He had also anonymously sent Hongzhu many expensive gifts, each gift containing a love letter. What kind of personality did Hongzhu have? Naturally, she looked down on a lackey like Tang Qianqi who licked people's soles. Even if Tang Qianqi's gifts were always anonymous, she could still guess that those gifts were from this guy. So, every time she received a gift, she would throw it away or directly give it to her servant girl. As for those love letters, Hongzhu couldn't even be bothered to look at them. He tore them up the moment he received them, not even bothering to dirty his hands. However, Tang Qianqi did not know about this. After all, Hongzhu was so mysterious that he had only met him a few times. He thought that Hongzhu had accepted all the gifts. Therefore, Tang Qianqi was always secretly delighted, fantasizing that one day he would be able to bring home a beauty. Miss Hongzhu, don't be so anxious. We haven't seen each other for so long, but you're still so beautiful. Can't we catch up first? Tang Qianqi quickly walked up to Hongzhu and took a whiff of her faint body fragrance. He felt as if he was floating in the air. What does it have to do with you whether I'm pretty or not? We're going forward now. Do you have anything to do? If there's nothing else, we're leaving. Hongzhu glared at him and prepared to leave. Hey, wait! Tang Qianqi hurriedly stopped Hongzhu. He suppressed the turmoil in his heart and said with a smile, I just heard from my subordinates that a few disciples of the Hong family have gone missing. What's going on? If you need any help, don't hesitate to tell me. Tang Qianqi. Oh no, the Tang family is very willing to lend a helping hand. Let's just talk. Why are you standing so close to me? Seeing that Tang Qianqi was about to stick to her, Hongzhu glared at him disdainfully and immediately took a few steps back to maintain a certain distance from Tang Qianqi. Then she said calmly, I appreciate the Tang family's kindness, but this is the Hong family's internal matter. We don't need anyone else to interfere. You only need to ask these guards to make way for us. Oh, who are these three beautiful girls? Hongzhu, why don't you introduce them to me? Look, I've been focusing all my attention on you, and almost ignored them. Pretending that he did not hear Hongzhu's words, Tang Qianqi turned around and asked Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao attentively. Sweeping his eyes over them, Tang Qianqi discovered that all three of them were rare beauties. Moreover, each of them had a different appearance compared to Hongzhu, and each of them had their own merits. Standing there, they were very eye-catching, causing Tang Qianqi to involuntarily take a few more glances. In fact, Tang Qianqi had an unknown hobby, which was to collect the photos of beautiful girls. As long as it was a beautiful girl from the internal martial arts circle, he would have their photos in his hands. He often took them out to admire and play with them. He had a lot of photos of Hongzhu. Therefore, when he saw Song Huawu, Jin Beibei, and Xiao Xiao, he immediately determined that the three girls were not from the internal martial arts circle. Otherwise, it was impossible that he did not recognize such beautiful girls. They are. Hongzhu was slightly taken aback. She really hadn't considered this question before, so she hesitated and didn't answer. Her mind was spinning rapidly as she considered how she could come up with a reasonable identity to fool Tang Qianqi. Jin Beibei keenly sensed that something was wrong. She immediately stood out and answered on behalf of Hongzhu, holding her chest high. The three of us are Miss Hongzhu's maids. This time, we were ordered to accompany her on a trip to inquire about the whereabouts of the missing disciples of the Hong family and take care of her daily life. Song Huawu and Xiao Xiao looked at each other. They were also smart enough to understand Jin Beibei's intention after thinking for a moment. Therefore, they hurried to nod in agreement. Oh, so you are all maids? Tang Qianqi stared at Jin Beibei's breasts covetously and then repeated himself. Naturally, he did not believe Jin Beibei's **t, but he could not find anything suspicious at the moment. Yes, they are all my maids. So what? Do I have to tell you that I brought a few maids with me? Is the Tang family the dominator of the internal martial arts circle? Aren't you being too nosy? Hongzhu was secretly relieved. She pretended to be angry and continued, secretly praising Jin Beibei's quick reflexes. Otherwise, she really did not know how she should explain herself. Tang Qianqi did not say anything, but continued eyeing Jin Beibei and the other girls up and down, with lecherous brilliance beaming out of his bean-sized eyes. Right when Song Huawu's face turned gloomy and she was about to burst into rage, Tang Qianqi suddenly put on a weird smile and said casually, Why do I feel that you do not look like her maids? Chapter 11:11. What gives you the right to say that? Have you planted spies in the Hong family? They are all my personal maids. They don't usually meet people. Hong Zhu was dazed for a moment. Although he felt uneasy, he still hoped that Tang Qianqi was just trying to trick him. Is that true? Tang Qianqi turned his eyes to the feet of the three girls and asked with a smile, Hong Zhu, it has occurred to me that the maids of the Hong family are quite trendy. Look, they are all wearing high-end sneakers such as Nike and Adidas. They are much more fashionable than you. Speaking of which, since when does the internal martial arts world sell such shoes? Why didn't I know about it? What, Nike and Adidas? Are you a pervert? They wear whatever shoes they are wearing. While arguing, Hong Zhu subconsciously glanced at the clothes of Jean Bebe and the other girls. He immediately stopped talking and realized what the problem was. The internal martial arts world was isolated from the rest of the world in the first place, and there were few opportunities for them to go out. Therefore, the practitioners of the martial arts world usually wore plain clothes. They were mostly used to wearing cloth shoes or boots made of animal hide. They had no chance to wear the trendy brands of the mortal world at all. For example, Hong Zhu was wearing a pair of deerskin boots, and Tang Qianqi and the guards were only wearing cloth shoes. However, although Jean Bebe and the other girls were all wearing the clothes of the internal martial arts world, they were wearing the shoes of the sports brands, such as Nike and Adidas. Therefore, their clothes were exposed immediately. Hong Zhu, who was rendered speechless, could not help but feel very upset. Why did he forget to change their shoes when he changed their clothes? The clothes in the ancient clothes and the sneakers were even more eye-catching than the sportswear. It would be strange if they did not attract attention. Hee. Of course, I don't care what shoes you are wearing. But it is obvious that you are lying, Miss Hong Zhu. Those girls are obviously not from the internal martial arts world. Tang Qianqi glanced at Hong Zhu, and his face gradually turned gloomy. Hong Zhu turned his head away and avoided his eyes unnaturally. Tang Qianqi did not mind it at all. He walked in front of Jean Bebe, Song Huawu, and Xiao Xiaoan hurriedly. The three girls subconsciously shrank their feet. Although these girls were usually bold and courageous, they did not have enough experience when it came to handling major issues. At this moment, they felt guilty as if they had been caught red-handed and did not know what to do. Based on that, I can infer that the purpose of your visit to the Tang family is not simple. Miss Hong Zhu, I suggest that you tell me the truth. Otherwise, don't blame me for disregarding our many years of friendship and being rude to you. Tang Qianqi finally stood in front of Hong Zhu and said in a sinister voice. Although it was true that Tang Qianqi had a crush on Hong Zhu, he was more interested in the former. It was to be the leader of the Tang family. Tang. Tang Qianqi was not to be a Zhu to be to him to that to him. After Tang Qianling took over the power of the Tang family, he would definitely rise to the top with him. At that time, he would have all the women he wanted. It was even possible for him to kiss Hong Zhu. Maybe Hong Zhu would even run to him and beg him to spend the rest of his life with her. On the other hand, if he went against Tang Qianling's will in order to please Hong Zhu, he would definitely end up miserably. He might even lose his life. Therefore, Tang Qianqi was very clear that he would not give up the whole forest for a tree. Sister Hong Zhu, this guy's logic is so weird. It's just a pair of sneakers. What's there to be surprised about? Jean Bebe rolled her eyes and suddenly thought of something. She pursed her lips and said loudly, "Little girl, don't be so stubborn. I'm telling you, in the internal martial arts world, you can go and take a look. Nobody will wear shoes like yours. It's such an obvious loophole. And you say that there's no need to make a fuss?" Tang Qianqi sneered and said with a mocking expression. Jean Bebe rolled her eyes at Tang Qianqi. She bent down and wiped off the dust on her sneakers. Then, she stood straight and said in disdain, "What do you know? The Hong family is mainly engaged in business. We often go to the secular world. Of course, we have to dress like ordinary people and blend in with the crowd. You don't even know that? You are too inexperienced. F*ck, you are just a maid. How dare you talk back to me? Tang Qinchi was infuriated after being ridiculed for no reason. He pointed at Hong Zhu and said, "Stop arguing with me. Even the second daughter of your family is wearing deerskin boots. Why are you wearing sneakers? It doesn't make any sense at all. I told you that you don't know anything, but you really don't." The more Jean Bebe talked, the smoother she became. She said matter-of-factly, "Deerskin boots are so expensive. Sister Hong Zhu can wear them, but we are just maids. Are we qualified to wear them? Besides, compared with your cloth shoes, sneakers are of course more comfortable for us to walk on the mountain. You don't know anything, and you want me to educate you? You are such a fool." "You!" Tang Qinchi flew into a rage. He was about to burst into anger when he suddenly realized that something was wrong. Rolling his eyes, he said with a sneaky smile, "Hee. Since you are Hong Zhu's maids, you should call her Miss. Why did you call her sister Hong Zhu directly? Don't you know the basic rules? What do you think? Did you spill the beans? Did you see through it? Hey, what are you talking about? We are very close to Sister Hong Zhu. Is it strange that we call each other sisters? You, on the other hand." Jean Bebe did not think it was a big deal. Pointing at Tang Qinchi, she said angrily, "You seem to be up to no good. How can you call Sister Hong Zhu Miss? Do you know what kind of people are usually called Miss in the secular world?" Hong Zhu cooperated with her in a timely manner. He snorted and glared at Tang Qinchi in disgust. Well, Tang Qinchi was dazed for a moment. Although he had never been to the secular world, he still knew the basic knowledge. Miss was usually used to address the girls who had lost their footing. Looking at Hong Zhu's gloomy face, Tang Qinchi was immediately rendered speechless. He meant to explain that it was not what he meant, but he could not bring himself to say it. Damn it! This big-breasted girl was really good at bullshitting. What do you mean by this and that? Did you not take your medicine before you went out today? Jean Bebe waved her hands as if she were dismissing a lackey. She said impatiently, "Hurry up and get rid of them. Why don't you have any eyesight? We have a lot of things to do. We don't have time to watch you act up here. What the F***ck? I don't believe that I can't teach you a lesson today." Seeing that Jean Bebe was about to step out, Tang Qinchi finally came back to himself and stopped her immediately. Jean Bebe's face fell. "Aya, how unlucky. The series of words just now failed to scare this guy. Bebe was such a failure." Chapter 11-12. After stopping it, Tang Qinchi immediately winked at the leading guard and ordered fiercely, "Go! Capture those girls. Bring them all back to the Tang family, and lock them up first. We will interrogate them slowly after the leader is done with his business." "Wait!" Hong Zhu hurriedly stood in front of Jean Bebe and the others when he heard this, and he said with a gloomy expression, "Tang Qinchi, regardless of whether you believe it or not, they are indeed members of the Hong clan. If you dare to detain them, then you're going against the Hong clan. If the leader of the Hong family learns about it, he will definitely not let you go. Don't use Hong Dingwei as an excuse." Tang Qinchi did not buy it at all. He squinted at Hong Zhu and said, "Let me make it clear to you. If you are not a member of the Hong family, I can execute you on the spot for trespassing on the Tang family's territory. The Hong family will not be able to reason with you." Hong Zhu was furious, but he could not do anything to Tang Qinchi. He was as anxious as an ant on a hot pan. After saying that, Tang Qinchi turned around and ordered the leading guard again. "What are you waiting for? Take them all away. Lock them in the dungeon of the Tang family first. Don't come any closer, or I won't show any mercy." Seeing that the guards had surrounded them like wolves and tigers, Song Huawu immediately activated her mental cultivation method and assumed a stance, revealing the strength of a 9th-level martial master. It was a pity that, although she had been training hard and her strength had improved a lot over the past year, she was still not strong enough in the inner martial arts world. Jean Bebe and Xiao Xiao were also ready for battle. However, they were even weaker. The former was only a 6th-level martial master, and the latter was only a 5th-level martial warrior. "Yo, am I seeing things? You are not even as strong as the lowest-level guards of the Tang family. Are you going to fight back?" Tang Qinchi said disdainfully after he saw the strength of the girls. He had come here to take away the suspicious people who had trespassed on the Tang family's territory for questioning. Now that he saw the girls resisting with their lives, he was even more certain that there was something wrong with them. The guards revealed disdainful smiles as well, and then they roared loudly and revealed the strength of various martial generals. The weakest amongst them was at the third layer of the martial general realm, and the leader of the guards was even at the perfection stage of the martial general realm. They didn't take Jin Bebe and the others seriously at all. Huawu, don't be too rash. The situation had changed too quickly, and Hongzhu hurriedly stopped the women, feeling a little anxious in his heart. If a fight broke out, they would definitely be charged with assaulting a Tang family guard. What do you think? Miss Hongzhu, why don't you just tell me what these people are here for? Don't be too stubborn, otherwise, you'll end up hurting everyone's relationship. Tang Qianqi slowly flicked his sleeves as he lecherously said to Hongzhu. They are indeed servants of the Hong family. I've already told you what they did. Hongzhu's face was as cold as frost as he said in an icy voice. From the way you're acting, don't tell me you want to capture me and imprison me as well. Oh my, how would I dare to do that? Tang Qianqi's expression did not change at all. He was still smiling as he said, Miss Hongzhu is an honored guest of our Tang family. I can't wait to serve you, so why would I capture you? It's just that these people are suspicious, so I have to bring them back for investigation. Hongzhu bit his lower lip and thought for a while. Finally, he made a decision. He pulled Song Huawu's hand and said in a low voice, Huawu, these people are too strong. Why don't you go with them first? You can take care of Beibei and Xiao Xiao. I'll return to the Hong family immediately and report to our family head to rescue you. But Song Huawu hesitated for a moment. She was not thinking about her own situation, but that Xiao Chun might still be in dire straits. However, when she turned her head to look at the ferocious guards around her, she could only nod helplessly and agree. All right, then come back as soon as possible. We can't waste too much time. Hongzhu agreed and let go of her hand. Seeing this, Tang Qianqi immediately yelled at the guards fiercely. You guys, why are you still standing there like idiots? Hurry up and take them away. After the guards had taken the women away, Tang Qianqi regained his smile. He looked at Hongzhu proudly and pretended to be in a difficult position as he said, Hongzhu, don't blame me for being heartless. I'm just following young Master Ling's instructions. Don't worry, as long as there's no problem with their identities, I promise to send them back to the Hong family in one piece and into your hands. Humph. Tang Qianqi, I'm telling you, don't even think about doing anything to them. If they lose even a single hair on their heads, I won't let you and Tang Qianling off. Hongzhu stomped his feet angrily and hatefully. He looked deeply at the backs of Song Huawu and the others as they left, then turned around and hurried in the direction of the Hong family. Take care. If you bring anyone to the Tang family as a guest next time, remember to give me a call first, or even send me a WeChat message. Tang Qianqi waved his hand and stared at Hongzhu's perky buttocks for a while, his lower abdomen burning with desire. Only after Hongzhu had disappeared did Tang Qianqi subconsciously lick his lips and think to himself, You little hussy, why are you pretending to be a decent girl? Aren't you just a collateral relative of the Hong family? I'll get you on my bed sooner or later. But thinking was just thinking, and Tang Qianqi really did not dare to do anything rash. Although the Hong family was not as strong as the Tang family, they still had the Song family to help them. The strength of the big families in the internal martial arts world was actually not that different. Therefore, if the two families joined forces, they would be much stronger than any of the three big families. If the Tang family really angered these two families, and a fight broke out, not only would the Tang family not be able to gain any advantage, they might even suffer a huge setback. Therefore, Tang Qianqi also knew that although he was in the right, he definitely could not do anything stupid. He only ordered his men to lock up Song Huawu and the others, not daring to have any improper thoughts about them. He also strictly forbade the other guards from touching them. Hongzhu rushed all the way back to the Hong family. He did not care about the rules and directly ran to the head of the Hong family, Hong Dingwei, for help. But strangely, whether it was the study or the bedroom, Hong Zhu could not find any trace of the family head. This made Hong Zhu a little puzzled. Grandpa family had usually stayed at home and rarely went out. So why wasn't he home today? Could it be that Grandpa family head was hiding from him? He shouldn't know that I'm back either. Isn't this our little Hong Zhu? I heard that you went to the Outer Martial Arts Guild to attend a meeting. Why are you back so early? Just as Hong Zhu was feeling helpless, a gentle male voice suddenly sounded from outside the door. Chapter 11:13. Hong Zhu turned his head to look, only to see a young man walking in from the entrance. He had a fair and clean appearance, and his originally handsome and heroic face was set off by the white robes he was wearing, making him appear even more elegant and handsome. Qingshu, you're here? Did you see where Grandpa Patriarch went? I have something very important to discuss with him. Hong Zhu was overjoyed, and hurriedly ran over to ask. The person was called Song Qingshu, the second young master of the Song family. Because the relationship between the two families was extremely harmonious, he often came to visit the Hong family and play chess with Hong Dingwei. Grandpa Hong isn't here? I even specially came to visit him. If I had known earlier, I would have called and asked. Song Qingshu looked around the hall for a while and found that Hong Dingwei was indeed not there, so he could only shake his head regretfully. Turning around, Song Qingshu saw Hong Zhu's anxious expression and couldn't help but tease. What happened? Little Hong Zhu, you're actually so flustered. Could it be that some kid has bad eyesight and has taken a fancy to you? So he's here to propose marriage to Patriarch Hong? Don't talk nonsense. Hong Zhu rolled his eyes at Song Qingshu and took out his cell phone to dial Hong Dingwei's number. However, when he heard that he was not in the service area, he couldn't help but become even more anxious. What's wrong with Grandpa Patriarch? Why didn't he go out earlier or later? He just had to go out when I have something urgent to discuss with him. And I can't even get through to his cell phone. What should I do? Alright, don't be anxious. What happened? Song Qingshu said to Hong Zhu as if he were coaxing a child. Why don't you tell me first? I might even be able to help you out with some ideas. Did someone provoke you? Tell me the name of that person, and I promise I'll beat him until he looks like a pig. You can put him in any shape you want. Song Qingshu still didn't know what had happened, but judging from Hong Zhu's expression, it was indeed a little troublesome. Although Hong Zhu was not a direct descendant of the Hong family of the inner martial arts world, she was only a member of the outer martial arts world's Hong Chamber of Commerce. The Hong family's patriarch, Hong Dingwei, was her paternal grandfather, but this little girl had often followed her grandfather to the inner martial arts world's Hong family to report on business. As a result, she had gradually become familiar with Song Qingshu. Hong Zhu's appearance was coquettish, but her temperament was very magnanimous. Song Qingshu was very fond of her, so he had always treated Hong Zhu as his own little sister. Now that she saw Hong Zhu, who was usually very meticulous in his planning, being so anxious, Song Qingshu was naturally very concerned. How should I say this? Hong Zhu hesitated for a moment before he gathered his courage and said, I was originally going to attend a meeting. Then, I brought a few friends into the inner martial arts world to investigate some missing people. We accidentally trespassed into the Tang family's territory, and they were all captured by that bastard Tang Qianqi. Although Hong Zhu did not know if Song Qingshu would be able to help him, he had no choice but to tell her everything that had happened in the absence of the family head. Tang Qianqi? Oh, I remember now, it's Tang Qianling's lackey. If I remember correctly, he used to pursue you, right? He even gave you a lot of gifts and then you... Song Qingshu chuckled. He wanted to tease Tang Qianqi about how he had pursued Hong Zhu in the past, but Hong Zhu cut him off. Don't mention this person. Just hearing his name makes me angry. Aren't we just passing through the Tang family's territory? We're not going to find trouble with them. So what's the big deal? He actually has the guts to detain all my friends. What a lunatic. Pervert. Shameless. Hong Zhu said angrily, wishing he could directly cut Tang Qianqi into 8 pieces and feed them to the dogs. Alright, don't be angry. Tell me the names of your friends first. In any case, The family head isn't here right now. In a moment, I'll go find Tang Qianqi and bring your friends back, Song Qingshu said with a smile as he patted Hong Zhu's head. In Song Qingshu's opinion, he was the second young master of the Song family. So even the family head of the Tang family had to give some face to the Hong family and the Song family. Tang Qianqi was just an errand boy. No matter how arrogant he would still have to take the initiative to release his friends, right? That can't be right. You're going just like that? Hong Zhu looked at Song Qingshu suspiciously. Don't try to fool me. Even though I'm usually in the martial arts world, I know that the Tang family is one of the 3 great families of the martial arts world, and there are countless experts in the family. Do you really think you can single-handedly rescue them? Hong Zhu wasn't doubting Song Qingshu's strength. It was undeniable that his cultivation was indeed very high, and he was also one of the few extremely talented juniors of the Song family. However, how could he contend against the entire Tang family with just his strength alone? You don't need to worry about that. Others may not understand my strength, but you should be very clear about it. Song Qingshu waved his hand, clearly very confident in himself. He then reached out and scratched Hong Zhu's nose with a smile. Besides, didn't my big brother and I always help you solve the troubles you encountered when you were young? I believe you. Why bring up the past? Hong Zhu was a little embarrassed and rolled his eyes at Song Qingshu. In the past, he was especially mischievous and liked to tease the children of other families. He often got into trouble, and the Song brothers would always help him smooth things over. Now that he thought about it, he felt a little embarrassed. Haha, isn't that enough? Song Qingshu smiled and said lightly, You just need to tell me the names of your friends. Don't worry about anything else. I promise I'll bring them back safely. Then all right. I have 3 friends in total. They're called Jinbei, Song Huao and Xiao Xiao. Hong Zhu nodded. She first told him the names of the girls, and then she was about to describe their appearances. However, when she opened her mouth, she pondered for a moment, and then said, How about this? I'll go with you. It's better to be safe, in case that stinky pervert Tang Qianqi plays any more tricks. Wait. Did you just say that there's someone called Song Huawu? Song Qingshu was suddenly stunned, and his whole body became a little nervous. Hong Zhu nodded with a little confusion. Song Qingshu immediately frowned and asked with a serious expression, What does Song Huawu look like? How did she end up with you? Is she from the secular world's Supernatural Investigation Bureau? How do you know? She's a member of the Supernatural Investigation Bureau. Originally, she entered the inner martial arts world this time to investigate the missing cultivators with me. But I didn't expect to run into such an unlucky thing. Hong Zhu sighed slightly, feeling a little guilty. He blamed himself for being too careless. He usually entered the inner martial arts world, so he didn't think too much about it. If he had known this earlier, he would have investigated the route before going, and he wouldn't have wasted so much time. Chapter 11:14. He even dares to detain Huawu? Is that brat Tang Qianqi tired of living? Song Qingshu suddenly snorted coldly. His originally refined and gentle demeanor disappeared, as if he had become a different person. An oppressive aura suddenly surged from his body, and a furious and violent aura soared into the sky. Qingshu, what's wrong? Do you know Huawu? Hong Zhu was greatly startled. Looking at the cold expression on Song Qingshu's face, he felt as if there was a ferocious beast standing in front of him. Song Qingshu did not answer. Instead, he coldly said, Hong Zhu, let's go to the Tang family now. I want to see how many lives that lackey Tang Qianqi has. How much courage does he have to give him such power? Hong Zhu was somewhat surprised when he saw Song Qingshu's cold eyes, but he still subconsciously followed behind him. Although he did not know why Song Qingshu was so angry, Hong Zhu did not dare to ask. He could only carry his heart full of doubts as he sped in the direction of the Tang family. Under the spur of the horse, the 2 of them smoothly arrived at the Tang family's residence in no time. There were still many guards patrolling the perimeter of the Tang family's residence, vigilantly observing their surroundings. However, what surprised Hong Zhu was that Song Qingshu seemed to have been here several times. He led Hongzhu inside with ease, perfectly avoiding all the patrolling guards in the vicinity, and directly walked towards a certain courtyard. When they arrived at the courtyard, Hongzhu carefully looked around and discovered that there were no guards patrolling the place. The entire courtyard was frighteningly quiet, with only the faint sound of voices coming from the largest room in front. Hongzhu was just about to ask Song Qingshu what they should do next, but when he turned his head, he saw that Song Qingshu had not said a word and was instead rushing towards that room. Bang! Song Qingshu fiercely kicked the door open and swaggered into the room without saying a word. Hongzhu was once again shocked by Song Qingshu's actions. Isn't this a little too arrogant? It must be known that the Tang family was one of the 3 great families of the internal martial arts circle. Yet he had rashly rushed in like this. Wasn't this just seeking his own death? Did Song Qingshu take the wrong medicine? But now that it had already happened, Hongzhu could not turn back time. She had to save Song Qingshu first, so she only hesitated for a moment before putting away her timid attitude. She took a deep breath and braced herself to follow Song Qingshu into the room. Who are you? How dare you barge into young Master Ling's room? Do you want to die? A familiar voice called out. Hongzhu raised his head and saw that it was Tang Qianqi, who had assumed a defensive stance and was glaring at him. Tang Qianling, who was sitting next to him, was sitting leisurely with his legs crossed, but at this time, he was so shocked by the loud sound of the door breaking that he almost fell off his chair. Song Qingshu? Tang Qianling stabilized his body with great difficulty. He was about to raise his head and scold Song Qingshu when he saw that the person who had come was the second young master of the Song family, Song Qingshu. Cold sweat immediately broke out on his back, and he almost fell off his chair again. Fortunately, Tang Qianqi caught him in time. Tang Qianling straightened his body with a guilty conscience and was just about to ask Song Qingshu why he had come here, when Tang Qianqi's sharp eyes noticed Hongzhu, who was following behind Song Qingshu. He immediately shouted, Hongzhu, why are you here again? Don't think that we will be afraid, just because you brought someone to help us. This is the Tang. Ouch. Before he could finish speaking, Tang Qianqi's entire body was sent flying. He let out an anguished howl in the air before crashing heavily onto the ground. Blood bubbled incessantly from his mouth and nose, and his eyes were tightly shut as he lay motionless. It seemed that he had been knocked unconscious. Tang Qianling trembled in fear. He watched as Song Qingshu slowly wiped his hands. Just as he was thinking about how to speak, Song Qingshu's sharp gaze swept over him. Tang Qianling, you're quite capable, aren't you? You actually dared to have your lackeys detain Hongzhu's friend. Have you forgotten the painful beating you received when you were young? It seems that I have to remind you again. Song Qingshu said with a cold expression. Without waiting for Tang Qianling to react, Song Qingshu quickly appeared in front of him in a flash and swung his fist at his face. Bang! Tang Qianling sensed that something was wrong, but it was already too late for him to dodge. He hurriedly circulated his mental cultivation method to resist, but his face still took a solid hit. He could not help but cry out in pain as he was thrown backward along with his chair by the force of the punch. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. Not bad. Your reaction is quite fast. You know how to resist now. I would like to see how many attacks you, a mere great perfection martial king, can withstand. Song Qingshu said expressionlessly. Under Hongzhu's dumbstruck gaze, Song Qingshu mercilessly punched and kicked Tang Qianling's body like a sandbag, as if venting all the dissatisfaction and anger in his heart. Ouch! Stop hitting me. Ouch! Second young master Song. I know I was wrong. Ouch! Tang Qianling screamed miserably as he raised his hands to defend himself. However, no matter how hard he tried, Song Qingshu's punches and kicks would always accurately land on the areas that he could not defend against. Not long after, his body was covered in injuries and his face was covered in dirt. He looked incomparably miserable. Tang Qianling was on the verge of tears. He resisted in vain. Suddenly, a memory from his childhood surfaced in his mind. Back then, children liked to play together. However, whenever he bullied the disciples of the weaker sex, Song Qingshu would always stand up for them and beat him up, often leaving him with a bloody nose and a swollen face. Strangely, every time he was beaten up, he would complain to the Tang family's patriarch, his grandfather. Not only would his grandfather not stand up for him, he would also harshly reprimand him, telling him not to provoke Song Qingshu in the future. This made Tang Qianling even more depressed. Later on, Tang Qianling learned his lesson and tried not to provoke those who were on good terms with Song Qingshu. Although he did not know the reason why the Tang family's patriarch did not stand up for him, it was better than being beaten up and reprimanded. It was only after he grew up that Tang Qianling vaguely understood that although the Song family of the inner martial arts world was not large, they seemed to have unfathomable strength and an unknown background. Even the Awakening Gate did not dare to provoke them, let alone the Tang family. In the past, some ignorant families had dared to provoke them. However, in the end, they did not have a good ending. They either fell apart or declined overnight. However, what was strange was that although the Song family was powerful, they did not expand. They quietly stayed together with the Hong family and a few other small families, forming a small circle of their own. They rarely interacted with other families. Chapter 11:15. Stop putting on an act. This young master is only using ordinary punches and kicks. Otherwise, you would have died a long time ago. Song Qingshu's anger had almost dissipated after being beaten for a while. He rolled his eyes and said angrily, "Yes, yes, yes. Thank you for being merciful. Qianling will remember it." Tang Qianling covered his head and face and answered incoherently. He didn't even know what he was talking about. Seeing that Tang Qianling's clothes were dirty and torn, and there were several big bumps on his head, he looked very pitiful. Song Qingshu stopped punching and looked down at him, saying, "I'll give you 5 minutes to quickly hand over all the people you've captured. I won't say it again." "Ah, who do you want me to hand over?" Tang Qianling asked subconsciously with a sad face and a dizzy head. He was so dizzy from the beating earlier that he did not understand who Song Qingshu was talking about. Furthermore, he had yet to fully recover from the injuries from Xiao Chen's beating a few days ago. Now that he was beaten up by Song Qingshu, it made things worse. His entire head was in a mess. However, as soon as Tang Qianling opened his mouth to ask, he felt that something was wrong. He looked up and saw that Song Qingshu's face had darkened, and he had raised his fist again. Tang Qianling was shocked again. His brain was instantly stimulated, and he suddenly remembered that Tang Qianqi had indeed taken a few girls back. Don't hit me. Song Qingshu, I remember now. Those girls. I'll bring them over immediately. I guarantee that none of them will be missing. Please wait here for a while." Tang Qianling shouted and hurriedly stood up, dragging his injured body out. As he walked, Tang Qianling muttered in his heart, "Damn it, let me go out and find helpers. Even if you're from the Song family, you'll still have to bear the consequences." Wait. Tang Qianling had only taken a few steps when Song Qingshu grabbed him. "Did I say you can go?" Song Qingshu grabbed the back of Tang Qianling's neck collar and said coldly, "Let Tang Qianqi bring the hostage. You stay here as a hostage. If he doesn't bring her back by then, for every minute that passes, I'll break one of your arms or legs. Do you hear me?" Yes, I heard it clearly." Tang Qianling felt a chill run down his spine. He shivered and could only dismiss the idea of asking for help. He turned around and saw that Tang Qianqi was still lying there. "Second young master Song Tang Qianqi." Tang Qianling rolled his eyes and wanted to say that since that guy was still unconscious, why not go by himself? What happened to him? "Oh, I forgot to tell you that your 5 minutes have passed by half a minute. I hope your bones can be a little stronger. Don't break with a snap like a twig," Song Qingshu said casually without raising her head. Tang Qianling's throat tightened, and he immediately staggered to Tang Qianqi's side. He kicked him hard and shouted, "Don't sleep. Do you think it's comfortable to sleep on the floor? Why don't you hurry up and bring him here? Are you trying to get me killed?" Ouch. Tang Qianqi had actually woken up a long time ago, but the moment he opened his eyes, he saw Tang Qianling being beaten half to death by Song Qingshu. Hong Zhu, who was watching from the side with great interest, was scared out of his wits. He thought to himself that he had provoked a tough guy. Wouldn't he be beaten up again if he got up? The point was that he was the one who ordered those girls to be captured. So he was the main culprit if they really wanted to investigate this matter. How could Tang Qianqi dare to get up rashly? He could only choose to continue lying there and pretend to faint. But now that his master had given the order, he naturally had to follow it as a henchman. Otherwise, if he offended Tang Qianling, he wouldn't have a good ending. Although the wounds on his body were still burning with pain, Tang Qianqi could only pretend that he had just woken up. He endured the pain and stood up, limped out of the room, and hurriedly ran to the dungeon. Although Tang Qianling felt that every second in the room felt like a year, he was glad that in less than 3 minutes, Tang Qianqi had brought everyone back. The women looked to be in good condition, and there were no signs of injuries on their bodies. It was obvious that Tang Qianqi hadn't tortured them, but simply imprisoned them. Hua Wu, are you okay? Did Tang Qianling do anything to you? Don't be afraid. If you've suffered any grievances, tell me. Second brother definitely won't let them off. When Song Qingshu saw the 3 women enter, he recognized Song Hua Wu at a glance. His originally cold expression instantly became very warm. He stood up and asked about her well-being as he walked in her direction. When he reached Song Hua Wu, Song Qingshu stretched out his hand, wanting to take her pulse to check if she had suffered any internal injuries. You, who are you? Don't come over. Song Hua Wu was stunned. She hurriedly took a few steps back and casually picked up a chair beside her to block in front of her. She stared at Song Qingshu vigilantly, feeling vaguely familiar in her heart. This person in front of me, why does he look a little like me? Jin Beibei and Xiao Xiao immediately walked over and leaned close to Song Hua Wu. They looked at Song Qingshu strangely. Although they felt that Song Qingshu didn't seem to have any evil intentions, they still didn't let their guard down. Song Hua Wu did not expect Song Hua Wu to react like this. After a long time, he realized that Song Hua Wu didn't seem to know him. He immediately felt a little embarrassed. He stretched out one hand in the air, not knowing whether to advance or retreat, and froze. Song Hua Wu turned her head, glared at Tang Qianqi and reprimanded. Tang Qianqi, I knew you didn't have any good intentions. You said you would let us go, but in the end, you brought us here. What tricks are you up to now? Hong Zhu, who was standing aside, was also stunned. He didn't understand why Song Hua Wu was so agitated, nor did he understand why Song Hua Wu acted as if she didn't know him. Judging from Song Qingshu's tone, they should be very familiar with each other. However, seeing the current situation, Hong Zhu still explained, Hua Wu, this is the second young master of the Song family. He heard that you were in trouble, so he came with me to rescue you. I'm sorry, Hua Wu, I was too impolite. Song Qingshu took the opportunity to withdraw his hand, touched his nose, stopped, and said apologetically, I forgot to introduce myself first. I'm Song Qingshu from the Song family of the Internal Wulin, and I'm your second elder brother. But it's a long story. When we go back, I'll slowly tell you the ins and outs of the story. Hearing this, everyone present was a little dumbfounded. Tang Qianling and Tang Qianqi looked at each other in disbelief. How did Song Qingshu become Song Hua Wu's second elder brother? They had never heard that the Song family had such a beautiful daughter of the 3rd generation. However, Song Qingshu didn't seem to be pretending. What on earth was going on? You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.